Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJohn.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your week 5 sit starts. Can't believe it, but we are over a quarter of the way through the 2025 fantasy season, and wins are more imperative than ever before. We got brutal injuries we're dealing with. We got 4 teams on buys. It's time to figure out what ghouls and goblins are going into those lineups, and I am here to answer every single sit start question that we get. So thank you so much for spending your Sunday morning here with us at Roto Street Journal. Let's dive in right away. So we have more than an hour and a half, 2 hours or so to get to all of your questions. In terms of some quick takeaways, as we always do, to let the mailbag build up, to let the audience grow, we'll hit a couple quick Week 5 Thursday Night Football takeaways. We'll hit some of the news that will likely be deciding a lot of your sit-start questions. And then again, the last hour and a half, 2 hours, all questions for the entire rest of the time. So let us dive right in, Wolfpack, with the Thursday Night Football takeaways. Mac Jones, another impressive outing, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns. Clearly, the Patriots, that ecosystem was not somewhere for this guy to thrive, but he is looking phenomenal. All those rumors that maybe Kyle Shanahan actually wanted Mac Jones at number 3 overall, he's looking like a perfect fit for here. Do we have a quarterback controversy on our hands? Mac Jones, for his part, is saying all the right things. I'm just here to back up and provide wins when I get in there. My number is called. He's not trying to force any type of hand, but he looks phenomenal. You could hear the way Christian McCaffrey was gushing about this guy and the gutsy win. I mean, with the Patriots, he's getting carried off and crying over a sprained ankle, and now he's playing through torn knees and thriving. I don't know what happened overnight to this guy, but he looks incredible. And this was with a JV squad, no less. No Jawan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall, and he still goes nuts. And on that note, without Ricky Pearsall and Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, 11 targets, 10 catches, 142 yards. On Thursday's show, we talked about him a lot. We got a good amount of questions, and I'd say at least on half of them, we did say, why not take the stab on Kendrick Bourne if you're digging in the weeds that much? Ultimately, I went Malik Washington myself over Kendrick Bourne. I'm obviously kicking myself. There's no way that Malik Washington gets 142 yards and 10 catches today. I still think he could find the end zone. I see some questions on Malik Washington already. Certainly excited to dive into him, and I'll be playing him myself today. But man, Kendrick Bourne, what a day. Certainly will be his season high. No doubt about that, especially with Pearsall and Jennings both due back next week, and potentially even George Kittle as well. And with Kittle out, Tonjes, 11 targets, 7 catches, and 41 yards, a touchdown. First touchdown of the game. I had him in my FanDuel one. Seems like a lot of other people did too, because it only paid out $60 in bonus bets. I was hoping for at least a few hundred. Hey, we'll put those $60 to good use today and turn it into thousands, right? And then we also had in the passing game just DeMarcus Robinson. A lot of people wondering, Robinson versus Bourne. It was clearly Bourne, because Robinson just 7 targets, 3 catches, and 39 yards on a day where Mac Jones threw for 342, a distant afterthought. We, of course, had Christian McCaffrey racking up a healthy amount of that, 8 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty paltry on the ground, below 3 yards per carry in back-to-back weeks, 22 carries, 57 yards. But that doesn't matter when you're playing like the best slot receiver in football and racking up wide receiver 1 numbers as a pass catcher. The rushing is just gravy at this point for Christian McCaffrey. That wraps up the 49ers takeaways, other than the fact that Brandon Ayuk is still weeks away. But as we mentioned, there's a real chance we get Kittle and Jawan Jennings and Pearsall back for week 6. The latest rumbling on Kittle was that it might be closer to week 7. We'll find out. In terms of LA, Kyren Williams, the star of the show, kind of. He had over 30 fantasy points, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air, in addition to 65 on the ground. But the big thing was fumbling. Oof, brutal for Kyren Williams. Pretty much cost the team the game. Granted, Blake Corum also fumbled, and he seemed like a big stock down. It'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward. But Williams finishing with 91% of the snaps, 14 to 15 running back carries, 38 routes compared to 43 for Puka. So right there is like an every down receiver. 10 targets, 8 catches, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns, 31.1 PPR points. The guy went absolutely ballistic. Just a matter of, does that fumble end up opening the door? But granted, again, Corum, he also fumbled, and he did not get the rock a single time after doing so. Puka Nacua continued his heroics, 12 targets, 10 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. That was his season low. Insane to that the season this guy is putting together. And then Adams did have 11 targets, 5 catches, and 88 yards. All, not bad, but solid. Just not – the fact is that, that's his floor, which is insane to Devontae Adams. that wraps up all the week 5 takeaways I had from Thursday Night Football. If you think I missed any, Wolfpack, let me know. We got 300 of you right here at the 5-minute mark. You'll love to see it. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, helps us grow, get out to more people. So greatly appreciated. And of course, any new subscribers, we're like 5 away from 4,700, 300 away from 5K. We're making that climb. We'd love to keep hitting that this year. Let's dive in, though. We do have a decent amount of news, but we'll be able to move through it very quickly and then on to all your questions with more than enough time to mow through the mailbag. And, of course, my man Campanelli is in the mod seat checking out. If you want to cut the line, we'll pause whatever we're doing. We'll get to any super chats right off the jump. Last week, we set a record with over 40 super chats. You guys are so kind, so generous, not expecting anything like that ever again. Honestly, that was insane and incredible. But if you do want to jump the line, if you got to get in and out before, let's say you have a question about the 9:30 game, for example, there's a bunch of questions that came in last week about Kenny Gainwell, but unfortunately I got to about half of them because the game kicked off while we were getting into the rapid fire. Kenny Gainwell was a smash start last week. If you have any questions about who's playing today, like Quinshon Judkins, smash start, let me know. But let's dive into the news real quick. Wolfpack. Lamar Jackson not practicing, not playing. He is officially ruled out. And my guess is with that week 7 bye, they probably rest the guy for the next 2 weeks, get the bye week, and then he's ready to go in week 8. That's, of course, pure speculation from Dr. Wolf. I have no idea what the actual timeline will be. But that is, as a Lamar Jackson owner in my most important league, I'm hoping it's just through the bye week. I'm hoping they still have plenty to play for when that bye week wraps up. And then there may not be any teams interested in trading for Russell Wilson, according to the Athletics' Dan Duggan. Breakthrough analysis. Who the hell would want that absolute tool bag at quarterback? I mean, maybe the Bengals. It can't get much worse than Jake Browning, but why not get Winston at that point if you're going to trade for a veteran signal caller? Get something exciting. We'll see if anything happens there. But the only big quarterback news right now is Lamar Jackson being ruled out. In terms of running backs, Wolfpack, we got Bucky Irving out. We got Chuba Hubbard out. Let's dive into both of those backfields. For the Buccaneers, Rachaad White should likely take over. We had a game in week 13 last year, or actually later in the season, week 16, where Bucky Irving was ruled out, and Rachaad White dominated 19-3 in terms of the running back touches. But we did have a game where Rachaad White missed, and we saw Sean Tucker. Granted, this is when they were kind of easing Bucky Irving in, but Sean Tucker went absolutely ballistic in that game. And so that's where I do wonder, I'm just pulling up the stat real quick of what he put up, just to tell you that this guy has a ceiling. Yeah, week 6, 17 touches, 3 catches, 192 yards from scrimmage, and 2 touchdowns. NFC Offensive Player of the Week honors. So given that Bucky Irving's 5th in carries and targets among running backs, 3rd in total touches, 22.5 per game, there's a massive pie here. And I do think Rachaad White is a pretty borderline must start right now, a high-end running back too. I do think I'm +9 ECR right now on Sean Tucker. Having that running back 30 was +16 earlier in the week, but people are starting to catch up to him. Still don't think he's getting the respect he deserves. He's a very talented player and should get some solid work today. So Sean Tucker, if you're desperate for a running back fill-in because you have Chuba out and you missed, let's say, on Rico Dowdle, who we'll talk about in just a second, I do think Sean Tucker is a interesting play. Rico Dowdle, of course, also will be starting here for the Cowboys. I picked him up in 3 leagues, so I'm sure at this point you've probably already missed your chance to scoop him. But as of Friday, he was out there in 3 of my 5 Yahoo leagues, and I scooped him up, and I'm starting him in 2 of the 3 because it's a smash spot. Miami giving up the 7th most points to backs. Unbelievable matchup for the guy that was the running back 23 in fantasy points last year. So at running back 20 in my rankings, +70, I don't see a way where this guy doesn't hit, 100-ish yards and probably a touchdown as well. Really, really like Rico Dowdle. I even have ahead of Rachaad White if you need a running back fill-in. A lot of running back news today. That's the kind of the big theme with lots of guys out. In terms of the Cardinals, and let me know if you have a Cardinals running back question. Michael Carter versus Amari DiMarcado. Is Bam Knight going to be involved? Do we trust any of these guys, given that Jonathan Gannon says they'll all have roles? You hate to hear that when you have to talk about a 3-headed split. And then Jeremy Fowler just kind of echoed that report last night saying the Cardinals are going to ride the hot hand Sunday. Granted, Michael Carter, he won the Patrick Tillman Practice Award winner. He came out and said it's crazy to go from Patrick Tillman winner to now starting the game. So it sounds like they're going to give Michael Carter the first crack at least out of his mouth. Who knows if that ended up costing him the starting job or if that will mess anything up that he let that leak. But he seems to be the early down guy. He's plus 110 to score a touchdown today. So Vegas expects him to be the lead rusher. And you're facing a Titans team that's given up the most rushing touchdowns to running backs. I think it's a great bet to have Michael Carter in your fantasy lineups, running back 27 for me. But I actually like Emari Demercado even more. He's got the receiving role on lock. And if they are truly riding the hot hand, if this guy rips off a couple nice runs, as he has typically done, he's pretty efficient with the work he's gotten in the past, certainly as a pass catcher, but even as a runner, he's been okay. A very solid touchdown scorer throughout his career, Emari Demercado. I love him at plus 290 to score, if nothing else. One of my favorite bets of the day. But ultimately, I have Demercado one spot above Michael Carter, 5 spots above the ECR. I really, really like Demercado today, and I do like Carter as well. You'd have to be pretty desperate to go to Bam Knight. I have a league where I am just about that desperate with injuries and bye weeks. I might actually pick up Bam Knight. Don't know if I'll actually start him, but ultimately, I would be playing both Demercado and Michael Carter, with my preference again being Demercado. Wanted to note that Tyjae Spears has been activated. He's still out there in over 70% of leagues right now. Very explosive runner. Had some games last year of top 3 running back performances for Tyjae Spears. So just go check and see, is he still lingering on any waiver wires you're in? See if you have some roster space, because he should be picked up at this point. Pollard has been number 1 in opportunity share and snap share among running backs, 89% of snaps, 92% of opportunities. This is a good opportunity to lighten that load. And also, it's kind of like Pollard is only averaging 10 fantasy points per game with that type of workload. This is only going downhill for him. If you have a chance to potentially sell Tony Pollard, I would try to be pulling that trigger this morning, because this might be the last chance you get. Braylon Allen out 8 to 12 weeks. So obviously droppable himself, and that does make Breece Hall an absolute smash against the Cowboys today and likely for the rest of the season. He got a big bump. You can see my rest of season rankings at rotostreetjournal.com. You can, of course, see these week 5 rankings at rotostreetjournal.com. But smash spot for Breece Hall. Isaiah Davis, a little bit intriguing too, plus 500 as a touchdown scorer. You'll hear me kind of mix in some of these TD scores. I made a big list. Maybe I'll tweet it out of my favorite bets of the day, like the long shot odds for TD scores. And he certainly makes that list at plus 500. Isaiah Davis, that is. Of course, he'll probably lead this team in the third down snaps. He's a solid pass protector. I don't know if he gets that Braylon Allen type of role, but I do like Isaiah Davis as a long shot touchdown scorer. And again, if you're desperate for a running back today, he could be the one that you go after. We did get a super chat, so we're going to pause the news for a second. Jay, thank you so much, Jay1364. Let's dive in to what we got here. Hey, bud, what do you think of Taysom's return? And will Tracy get a good split of carries in New York on returning? Thanks. So is Tracy returning today? I thought he was listed as doubtful the last I saw. Let me just double check that one, because that would be down. Let me just see really quick. I want to see if he's going to play. Timeline beginning to take shape. He returned to practice, but still listed as doubtful. No official confirmation here. So you might be projecting, for next week or when he does return ultimately. Do I think he's going to still get a good amount of carries? And honestly, I think it's Stadibo's offense now. I think he takes the reins. He already has shown I can shoulder all 3 downs. Phenomenal pass catcher, phenomenal touchdown scorer, and that's where all the fantasy juice is. So maybe Tracy comes back and he mixes in for some change of pace carries here and there. And I loved him as a rookie, don't get me wrong, but Stadibo is a different level of beast, a different level of horse that could handle all 3 downs. I've seen Tracy get cut in some leagues, and I have not gone to pick him up, I'll tell you that. So ultimately, I don't think Tracy is all that valuable of a hold. I'd even rather just see, what does Brashard Smith do on Monday Night Football? I'd certainly rather see, we'll talk about a running back note in a second, what Jadon Blue does as well. So I really think it is going to be the Stadibo show here. It does not sound like Tracy is going to be live today. And even when he does come back, I am not ultimately holding on to this guy for a significant amount of time. In terms of Taysom Hill's return, I mean, we're talking about a guy that has been top 8 in tight end points per game across multiple seasons. But he's also coming off a brutal injury. They did say he's going to have a role today. How prominent? We'll find out. It's a completely new scheme. Kellen Moore, new play caller. Who knows exactly what that type of usage will be? But we, of course, know the diverse play set. We know Kellen Moore likes to be creative and run a ton of plays per game as well. And this team does need weapons. So if I have the roster space, I have no problem putting him in. What I do think is the immediate impact is Juwan Johnson, who's been at number 6 tight end in fantasy so far. he takes a big hit. These last couple of weeks have already been sketchy, and that was on like 98% of the routes. Now you have Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill coming back here. I think it does put a little bit of damper on him. I think it puts a little damper on Kendre Miller as well, who is taking over that quote-unquote big back role, had the touchdown 60 yards last week. I do still like Kendre Miller. I also love Kendre Miller plus 550 to score a touchdown. Now, I think those odds are likely because of Taysom Hill returning. Still think Kendre Miller could pay that out as well, though. Ultimately, I'm not playing Taysom Hill. Let's put it that way. But in deep leagues where you can stash a lot of players, I do think Hill is worth monitoring at minimum because we've seen any given week he can blow up for 25 points. And from tight ends, other than even this year, especially where there's no real Bowers threat, Trey McBride's fine, but he's not scoring touchdowns. I do think Taysom Hill could end up being a difference maker, but there's so many question marks. There's no way you can plug him in quite yet, ultimately, in my mind. And I do think the immediate takeaway is I'm benching Juwan Johnson for a Mason Taylor today. I'm worried about Juwan Johnson. I'm happy to cut him if I need it to roster, again, an upside play like Jayden Blue, like Rashard Smith, these type of running backs that could end up panning into big things. Thank you so much, Jay, for the support. And thank you so much, Luis Perez, for the support. Start 3, Amari, RJ, Charbs, Slayton, and Trey Tucker with no Bowers. We got to pick 3 of these guys. My favorite of them is definitely Amari, and I really like Slayton today with no Malik Neighbors. We saw him go bonkers last year, and now he has an even better quarterback. So I'm a big fan of Darius Slayton. I think he's an underrated talent. Those 2 are the clear favorites for me in terms of Amari and Slayton. It does get trickier from there. I don't really like Charbs. I think he's more of a touchdown or bust type of option. It's like a poor man's David Montgomery, in my view. RJ Harvey looked great last week, but you got the best matchup for running backs. You had garbage time for a lot of that. So to me, I probably am actually going to Trey Tucker with no Bowers. You know you have a 40-point ceiling. We've seen it. Do I think he ever hits that again? No. But 1 touchdown at 70 yards, that would be a smash play, in my opinion. So Trey Tucker did get a good bump up the rankings. And ultimately, I would play Slayton, Trey Tucker, and Amari DeMarcado of those 3 options. Lewis, thank you so much for the support, brother. Back to our running back news, Wolfpack, with 840. We're almost already at 1,000. We haven't even hit the 20-minute mark. We've hit over 3,000 before. Last week, we got to about 2,300. Did not hit the ultimate record, but you guys can maybe help us achieve that with that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, and all that new subs. I know you get annoyed of hearing me say it, but it helps us grow so much. I got to do my part to help the team and the squad keep growing over here. Thank you so much again for being here. In terms of other running back news, we just alluded to this a couple times, but Todd Archer of ESPN reporting Jayden Blue, my boy Blue, is expected to make his debut in week 5. I'm not going to sit here and start trying to he was my boy in my draft guide, if you had it. I wrote articles about him being my favorite sleeper. Didn't pan out, at least yet. 4 weeks healthy scratch over Miles Sanders. You can't consider this guy a win unless he goes absolutely bananas down the stretch. But that being said, no Miles Sanders likely this week. Jayden Blue will be playing that change of pace. Plus, you have Turpin out, so maybe you get a little bit of kick return goodness here from Jayden Blue. I'm just excited to see the guy active for the first time. Now, granted, I barely got blisters from wearing Louis Vuitton cleats in practice. If I had known these type of details about the kid, I would never have made him the featured sleeper of the year. Let's put it that way. Who do you think you are, where you have not been active for 4 straight weeks? You go and get custom-made Louis Vuitton Nike cleats, and then you get blisters because of it. Now I get a little bit more of a sense as to why this guy has been a healthy scratch for 4 weeks. That all being said, he still does bring 4.3 speed to the table. He's a phenomenal pass-catching back. To me, I bet this is going to be a bit like, let's say, a Justin Fields. I know a different position, right? But you read all these practice reports. Fields is not intense, and he missed 4 or 10 throws. But he goes out there and puts up 30 fantasy points and goes nuts. I could see Blue being one of those type of just like when the lights come on, he's a baller. He's a game-time player. He's just got that real freakish speed that ends up popping on Sundays. And you don't really – how do you show that off in a practice? Yeah, maybe he's not running his hardest every play. He should be. I'm not trying to excuse the kid. But I'm hopeful that it's one of those things where he's not quite the practice hero, but ultimately when the lights come on Sunday, he rips a 50-yard touchdown and goes bananas. My best ball bags would really appreciate that. And I'm stashing him everywhere. At this point, maybe I'm take locked, but I recommend he's out there in 90% of leagues. He's going to make his debut today, and if he rips even just a 30-yard run, doesn't have to be a touchdown, he's going to be one of the higher-end pickups of the week. So go and scoop him now, stash him on the bench. I know, again, coming from me, who loved this guy beyond all belief in the preseason, who was taking him over Javonte Williams. You egg on the face. I've already taken my L with that one, but maybe he can salvage some value here. And I want him on my bench to at least see what happens. So let me know if you're like, hey, should I cut this guy XYZ for Blue? Certainly, Calvin Ridley, I'm not trusting that guy the rest of the season. And if Blue doesn't pan out, you rotate on, you're on to the next one. It's good to have that kind of bench space to keep playing that game with. So we'll find out how he does. I'm very excited to see him play today. On to the wide receivers, folks. Mike Evans, we knew he was going to be out against the Seahawks, still hasn't returned at any capacity to practice. Most likely will be out at least another 2 to 3 weeks. So you knew that was happening. Egbuka remains a stud. Chris Godwin surprisingly tied Egbuka for the target team lead last week and played 90% of the routes. He didn't look quite like Chris Godwin, the number 2 wide receiver in points per game last year rather. But ultimately, that type of usage, you got to be worried about a decoy or an ease in a half. No, he was out there as a near full-time player. And so as those legs are getting under him, and especially this week with all the wide receiver injuries and bye weeks, I'm happy to get Chris Godwin into my lineup. Certainly over a guy like Calvin Ridley. He has knee and elbow injuries. Good chance of playing according to Ian Rappaport, despite being listed as questionable. I don't trust him at all. I'd rather play Elic Manor, his teammate, who I like at plus 320 to score a touchdown, by the way, over Calvin Ridley. I have no faith in him. I have no faith in the Titans in general, but I do like Io Manor. I think he is really, really impressive as a rookie so far. The only other wide receiver notes we have involve the Colts. Alec Pierce will be out, and I really liked him today against the Raiders. And then with that being a note, Adonai Mitchell would be expected to step into that role. He had a good game last week, other than the fact that he cost the team 2 touchdowns. Looked really solid out there until he made those boneheaded errors, fumbling at the 1-yard line, and then ultimately a hold on Jonathan Taylor. And because of that, we have Jeremy Fowler tweeting out that after 2 costly mistakes, Adonai Mitchell is expected to be active, but in a limited role on Sunday versus the Raiders. Ashton Doolin could see more snaps. Ashton Doolin is plus 850 to score a touchdown today. I like to toss out the Hail Marys and just see what happens there, folks. I like Ashton Doolin to score a touchdown today. I really do. He's always, anytime he's been played, he just seems to always sneak his way into the end zone or pull something odd off like that. So I do like Adonai Mitchell. I like Ashton Doolin with Adonai Mitchell in that proverbial doghouse. And then Diami Brown will be playing on Monday Night Football. And again, if you are pure desperation mode right now, I certainly prefer Malik Washington. There's other good options. Trey Tucker got dropped in a lot of leagues, but now there's no Bowers. There's options I like way more than Diami Brown, but he had a solid start to the year. I'm right on pace with what Brian Thomas was doing, which I guess is a pretty low bar these days. But ultimately, Diami Brown will be playing. So if you're desperate for a wide receiver streamer, let me know, and we can see if he is the right one for you. And last, few nuggets of news here. Brock Bowers not practicing all week, and Ian Rappaport reporting that he is trending towards being out in week 5. He himself said, I don't feel like I can separate like I had been. Seemed to be kind of asking for the rest. He said it's frustrating to not be playing at the level I want to be because of this knee injury. So even if they rest him 2 to 3 weeks, fantasy owners should be happy about that, as long as they're getting the last half of the season, the Brock Bowers they spent that second-round pick on. I know a lot of people, he's a huge bust. You did see that first week, though, 125 yards and 3 quarters of play. Looked like he was going to be that next Travis Kelce level of tight end, but unfortunately, again, these injury is sapping him of his explosivity, his ability to separate. And so Brock Bowers certainly not looking like worth the second-round pick, and certainly not playing today. It also looks like Michael Mayer is going to be out today. He's already been ruled out. And so to me, Albert O is the tight end there. I'm not playing him, of course, but it does bump up Jacoby Myers. He's going to be the last man standing. Plus 200 to score a touchdown, a great bet as well. Trey Tucker getting a little bit of a bump up in the rankings as well. Maybe even Thornton becomes more necessary today for those of you that are desperate for a wide receiver. And then the last note, we already kind of talked about this because of that super chat earlier. Taysom Hill expected to play and have a role, as is Foster Moreau being activated from the PUP as well. So to me, Juwan Johnson takes a hit. He's facing the Giants. He's playable today, but I'd rather go for Mason Taylor off a 7-target day, now facing the Cowboys without any competition. That seems to me like a safer bet for week 5. Compared to that, if you have Juwan Johnson on your bench, and let's say I have a couple teams with Zach Ertz and Juwan Johnson, I've been rotating them in and out. I'm just going to cut Juwan today and stash Jadon Blue or stash Brashard Smith, whose role is expected to be elevated. and get an upside play on my bench rather than a tight end that's only trending downwards, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong on Juwan. Again, he is the tight end 6 on the year, depending on your scoring settings. I see it only going downward from here. Wolfpack, that wraps up all the news we got ahead of the 30-minute timeline that I like to set. So at this point on, we are going to be ripping through the mailbag. Of course, any super chats, like my guy right here, John, thank you so much. Greatly, greatly appreciate the support here. You can cut the line just like John did, and it really goes out to help your boy. I know we're not going to set a record every week like we did last week with like 38 to 40 super chats, but these are so greatly appreciated. They go such a long way. Thank you so much, John. Good morning, PPR, Slayton or Cup, Bill or Bond, Olave or Woody. Let's dive into all of these options. For me, it's definitely Slayton over Cup. Cup is joining Juwan Johnson in terms of that idea that I see no real upside here, and I'd cut him. If something happened to JSN, maybe Cup he get a bump up, but I honestly see Torrey Horton being the one that takes over that role. In fact, Fowler wrote an article this week about how coaches are enamored with Torrey Horton. It seems almost like a matter of time that Horton's role continues to grow at the expense of Cooper Kupp because they run so many 2 wide receiver sets and not 3 wide receiver sets. So Kupp definitely on the downward trajectory. I do not trust him at all. He'll have a couple big games between now and the end of the season, and big relatively, if 5 catch 70 yards and touchdowns. Don't think it comes today. And even if it does, I don't trust him to do it. Whereas Slayton, we saw him absolutely go bananas with Malik Neighbors out last year. And now we have a way better quarterback throwing the rock in Jackson Dart. And a solid matchup today against the Saints as well. I think Slayton's in an absolute hammer spot today. I have him about 7 spots above the ECR. Big fan of Darius Slayton, and certainly playing above Cooper Kupp, even given the PPR settings. Because we saw Slayton be a PPR beast last year in that start without Malik Neighbors. And then Bill or Bond, I'll tell you, I'm very intrigued by Bond. Speedster for days. But I love Bill, and the vibes are that they're saying they might start elevating his role if they're content with their 3-horse committee. But if someone's going to kind of really, truly emerge, it would be Bill. And he always seems to find that end zone. Tougher matchup against the Chargers, but you got Bond against Minnesota, the hardest matchup for wide receivers, fewest points allowed. It's kind of crazy. They allowed the most points in the league last year to wide receivers, shored up that back end, and now are allowing the fewest points. You got Dylan Gabriel's first start. You got London. If Gabriel comes out there and is slinging, and him and Bond have that kind of like second team connection, awesome. You have the guy on your team, and you can feel good about using him. But that is a risky start today, whereas we've seen Bill really look good, have a nose for that end zone. I myself, if I was staring down this decision, despite that 3-headed committee, I'd be going Bill myself, despite saying I am very excited to see what Bond does today. And then Olave or Woody, I am 100% going Woody. I'm a Olave owner. I know in PPR, 15 targets, how can you turn him down? I can turn him down because it's never going to be more than 50 yards for him, whereas Woody marks 2 touchdowns last week, now gets a Ravens team that's giving up the most points to running backs, the most touchdowns to running backs. Overtook Chubb last week, played more snaps, had more touches. And sure, Chubb's not going to completely disappear, but this is a Baltimore defense that can be had any way you want them. And Woody Marks can get it done any way you want, on the ground, through the air. I really like Woody Marks this week. Running back 19 for me. Huge fan of him. I'm playing him over Olave myself. So Slayton, Bill, and Woody for me, Mr. John. Thank you so much for the support. Tawana Williams, 5.0. Thank you for the super chat. It looks like the question is at 8:28, according to my man Campanelli, who I think, Campanelli, you actually, now that you're in the mod chair, have the ability to click that for me as well. I'm going to try to find it right now as well, but you should have that power. My question is above. Chat came first. Okay, so 8:28. Let me find you. Loaded mailbag. Love to see it so far. Fields or Josh Allen for Tawana? Normally, I'd laugh in your face and say, please don't ever ask a question like this again, because it's Josh Allen. We don't ever consider benching him. This is the one week where I won't actually laugh in your face right now. I still will say I'm going to go Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen. The Patriots offense is also good enough to push this team this year. So I really do like Josh Allen today. And our defense has been abysmal. I know having Gonzalez last week back really did help, but that was against the Panthers. Josh Allen should have no problem dissecting this defense today, Tawana. But that being said, the reason why this is even a question, and probably the reason you're asking it, is Fields is getting the Cowboys, who struggle against everything, but especially mobile quarterbacks, giving up the most touchdowns on the ground to QBs so far this season, giving up the most explosive plays to wide receivers on the season. Russell Wilson put up 40 points against this defense. So if your gut saying, I got to go Fields, I cannot pass up on this matchup, then fine. You can justify it. I would never be benching Josh Allen for really anybody, but certainly not Justin Fields, because just as ripe as the upside is, let's say he starts the game with a pick six. He might get benched right then and there. That risk, of course, does not exist with Josh Allen, whereas Justin Fields, as high as the ceiling is today, I believe he's my quarterback 3, at lowest 4. Love the guy this week. There's no doubt about it. The matchup couldn't be better. There is still that zero floor. The rug is pulled out and the guy gets negative points and is benched type of risk with Justin Fields. And if that exists, despite the ceiling being just as high, if not higher than Allen this week, what do I think Fields does? I think he puts up 30 points. I do. But to me, what do I think Josh Allen does? He probably also comes close to putting up 30 points. Let me do the guy that I have no questions about, no risk, in my opinion. It's Josh Allen. But I can see why you're asking it, Juan. I really can. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Mountain Man consistently supporting your boy. Thank you so much. Good morning. Full PPR. Pick 2. Garrett Wilson, Quentin Johnston, Xavier Worthy, or Myers. Whew. Loaded wide receiver core. You cannot be benching Garrett Wilson today against the Dallas team, giving up the most points to wide receivers, a complete set of the defense, most explosive plays, most everything to wide receivers. You're playing Garrett Wilson. He's a number 3 wide receiver in my rankings today. And for me, maybe it's the bias because he's on my team, but I am never benching Quentin Johnston. At least as of right now. The guy's been a true stud, 13 target day last week. Seems to have taken over completely Lad McConkey as the number 1 receiver, even Keenan Allen. It seems like Johnson is that number 1, whereas those guys are now nibbling for the cheese he leaves behind here. And I love the matchup against Washington, too. Top 5 matchup for wide receivers today. So give me Wilson, give me Johnson. As great as your other options are, Worthy and Myers, it feels dirty benching either one of those guys. I got to go with those two because you're just so stacked, Mountain Man. I'm going Johnston. I'm going Garrett Wilson. In terms of running backs, we got Judkins, White, Henry, and K9. Whew. I'm definitely going Judkins, which might be the craziest, but he's the one that I feel the safest about is Quinshon Judkins. To me, I know Henry's been so game flow dependent, and now you have the risk of Cooper Rush coming in and this team just being absolutely abysmal. But it's Derrick Henry, and with Lamar out, they're going to lean on this guy as much as they can, as long as they can. And I just don't think the Texans are an offense that boat race the other team into the point where it's like, oh, my God, it's the first quarter. We're down by 21. We can't play Henry anymore. It's not like the Chiefs that can pull that off and did pull that off to Derrick Henry. So to me, I think we're going to get like 25 carries for Henry today. I think they're going to go back to their roots. He has a history, too. Anybody that's played him when he was on the Titans, late December, Henry versus the Texans, it was always like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. He just loves to beat up on the Texans. I know that doesn't mean anything right now on the Ravens, but there is something about like you get off the bus and you're just like, oh, here's the guy I always beat the crap out of. That's the Texans for Derrick Henry. So I go Judkins and I go Henry. I do like White in the shore workload today. I obviously like the running scheme for Kenneth Walker as well, but to me, Henry and Judkins, 2 top 12 running backs, whereas those other guys are more in that like 15 to 20 range for me. And then in your other league, Mountain Man, Myers, McMillan, and Chase. Oh, man. That's where we've gotten to with Jamar Chase, and I can't say I disagree. I would still be going Jamar Chase. Maybe I'm clinging to the past, but they faced the 2 hardest matchups for wide receivers and quarterbacks with Jake Browning taking over. Detroit's not a pushover defense, but in terms of the secondary, they're still not great. That's where you can attack them the best. And so, yes, I do think, Browning will get destroyed today by Hutchinson and that entire defense. The pressure will be there. But there's got to be some sort of squeaky wheel here. Chase looked so defeated on the sidelines. You've got to imagine they're drawing up like 15 targets for this guy. And when they're going to be chasing points against Detroit, I wouldn't be shocked if Detroit puts up 40 points today. So I think Jamar Chase, the only real risk, in my opinion, is if they're losing 40-0 at halftime and then they just bench all their starters. I think they're just going to be in such comeback mode that you got to stick with your number 1 overall pick. I like McMillan, and I certainly like Myers today, but I would be rolling out Chase. I got to go for it. And if he fails this week, then it's like, all right, maybe not. And then we got Tristan super chatting, but without a question. I don't know if Campanelli, there it is. I found it right here. I saw that you commented at 8:34. Start 2, Mason, Marv, or AJB. I'm going to bench Mason there. Very tough matchup against Cleveland. A lot of people have been writing about it in the industry, and for good reason. Cleveland has been swallowing up running backs. Derrick Henry had like 20 yards against them. I know Jahmyr Gibbs had ultimately put up a solid enough day, but this is a phenomenal defense, and especially a phenomenal run defense. So when I've got a squeaky wheel A.J. Brown, I got Marv off of, sadly, one of his best games for pro at 60 yards, a touchdown, and 6 catches. Still a solid day. Seemed like something finally clicked between him and Kyler at the end of that game, and the matchups, nothing too scary today for Marv. So, you want to take the running back, the featured workload, but I'll take Marvin Harrison against Tennessee. A good chance. This is the type of defense, too, where you can almost treat it like practice against like a scout team. And so if they want to keep forging that rapport, it's Henderson, not Harrison. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm reading Stephen Drake's question. My apologies. So, yes, Harrison, A.J. Brown. I don't love them. I'm -1 ECR on both those guys. But to me, 2 top 22 wide receivers over a top 25 running back that's in one of the worst matchups you can have. I'm going to go with Marv and A.J. Brown because I just worry if you don't get that touchdown from Mason, you might be looking at like 13 carries for 30 yards. Very tough matchup for the kid. So I do worry about that, Tristan, myself. Thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you, Stephen Drake's constantly super chatting your boy here. We just talked about Jordan Mason, and he's making everyone nervous, and likely for good reason. It's the hardest matchup for running backs. This defense is very, very legit. I'm -3 ECR on him. I do have him running back 23 because there is volume to be had. 16 carries in back-to-back weeks with no Aaron Jones. But you saw the plus side of that. 16 carries, 116 yards, and 2 scores, running back 3 of the week. You saw the negative, 16 carries, 57 yards, no touchdowns, running back 36. And he gets an even harder matchup. Pittsburgh was getting steamrolled on the ground before facing the Vikings. Now you get the Browns. So I am very nervous about him. That being said, would I bench him for Henderson or Carter? I mean, Henderson, they continue to work in Ramondre despite the fumbling issues, more carries than Henderson last week. I'd be okay with that. Other than the fact that they're also working in nearly equally is Antonio Gibson, who vultured a touchdown last week. So Henderson, much I love the player, and this is the type of night where you think against Buffalo, unleash your rookie. You're going to need all the firepower you can get to keep pace with these guys. I don't buy that they're going to actually use him the right way. So I have Mason above him, and I just hope he falls in the end zone. And then Carter, he's intriguing. Don't get me wrong, but I still would go Jordan Mason here. Forever, I had Carter too, but it's one of those things where they talked about it's going to be hot hand, it's going to be game flow. All 3 backs are going to have a role. If it was just him and DeMarcado, and it's like, all right, we got our early down guy, we got our pass catcher in DeMarcado, we're good. But Bam Knight comes in there on the second drive and has rifles down the field, and I've always kind of liked Bam Knight. I thought he was an underrated prospect. Certainly hasn't done anything, but still, he could end up doing some damage, and suddenly – first drive, Michael Carter has 2 carries, 6 yards, 3 and out. And then they give the next one to Bam Knight, and suddenly he's just churning. Hot hand, and we don't see Carter again, and he ends up with like 15 yards. I don't think that happens. I do think Carter gets in the end zone. He's certainly the highest odds on Vegas, plus 110 of the 3 backs compared to 290 for DeMarcado. And I don't even think they have Bam Knight, who I would love to see what his odds are. I don't know if Campanelli, he's my staff boy over there. Let me know if Bam Knight is on the DraftKings or FanDuel books for touchdown odds, because I just weirdly have a feeling he's going to fall into the end zone, and he's probably like plus 850. So all that long-winded is to say, I agree with you. I'd be nervous about Mason's matchup, but if those were my other 2 options, I would just ride out the fact that he's going to probably get 15 to 20 carries. You hope one of them gets him into the end zone, because even if it's inefficient, even if it's 2 yards a pop, he's at 40 yards. If he finds the end zone, you feel good. It's nerve-wracking because you're going to have to deal with the London game now, and your morning could just lead to wanting to throw a coffee mug against the wall, maybe pouring whiskey into it instead. But I go with Jordan Mason myself. If I had those 3 options staring at me, that's who I would go. Bulldog, good call on Bourne. Hey, I knew a handful of people. I definitely said start Bourne if you're that deep in the weeds. I certainly did not expect 10 catches for 142 yards. I would have been hammering him in all my lineups. I got him into a couple dynasty teams with desperate wide receiver situations. So I feel good about that too. But my main league, my most important redraft league, I kept Malik Washington in over him. Wish I hadn't done that, obviously, but I'm still very intrigued to see what Malik does. But hey, thank you for the super chat. I've handed over some flowers through a super chat, Bulldog, and I'm glad that he hit big for you. Let's keep getting them right, baby. Camsby, full PPR, JMO or Slayton? Oh, man. I've gotten this one a few times on Twitter and just in the DMs and everything. It is a very tough call, but to me, this feels like a JMO spot. Cincinnati, terrible secondary, terrible overall defense. Let's get this guy right and cooking. That seems like a Dan Campbell type of move. You could see last week they were really trying to force it to him. They had 8 targets to him, really wanting him to get going. Of course, he didn't deliver. 2 catches, 40 yards, horrendous. Cleveland's a much, much tougher defense, though, and this is one of those kind of get-right spots. I feel like you bench JMO today, you're definitely costing yourself one of those classic eruption JMO spots. The Bengals are where those type of dreams are made. And so give me him against the Bengals. I know it's been 3 busts and 1 boom. I think we're getting one of the booms. He's well overdue, and this is the right spot to get it. And I really do like Slayton a lot. Again, we've referenced the fact that he absolutely crushed it last year. I'm looking at my ratings, and I actually have Slayton lower than I anticipated having him. I have him plus 4 ECR at 38. I'm going to bump him up, Camsby, as we're talking here. It's not going to be above JMO, though. I'll tell you that now. But I do prefer him to Trey Tucker. I prefer him, even with Bowers out, I prefer Slayton to T. Higgins even. So I do like him quite a lot. But he ends up where I bump him to is wide receiver 33, right below JMO at wide receiver 30. Similar tier, similar option. I totally see it. So if you're like, I'm done with the JMO experience, can I bench him for Slayton? It's understandable. I wouldn't do it myself. I'd be riding the JMO train and hoping for that blow up today. Dan Moore, you guys are so generous. Up to 15 super chats already. Thank you guys so much for your generosity this morning. So kind, so appreciated. You guys are awesome. Don Moore, let's dive in. 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, full PPR. We got Tet, McConkey, Allen, Deebo, Genty, Rachaad White, Javonte, Breeze. I'm guessing that's Breece Hall. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming Breeze is Breece Hall. Judkins, Mason, or Dowdle. Thanks. Dan, I can see why this is a tough situation because lots of great options all right around the same rankings for me. Let's sift through it. I'll start with the running backs. Definitely going Breece today. Can't bench that guy against the Cowboys defense. Just absolutely abysmal, absolutely pathetic. No Braylon Allen to vulture the touchdowns. I'm sure Isaiah Davis is going to be annoying and sneak in at some point. But he's a top 10 running back for me, Breece Hall. You can't bench him. And then I do have Judkins just a bit higher than Javonte Williams myself, although I'm thinking Javonte is going to probably be the flex of this question. But Judkins and Breece Hall would be the 2 running backs for me, no doubt about it. Vikings are a good defense for sure, but they've given up the 3rd most yards after contact. I believe it's the 7th most total points to backs in general. If you're going to beat the Vikings, it's going to be on the grounds, and we've seen them in terms of the Browns stubbornly commit to Quinshon Judkins. They were getting boat raced by the Baltimore Ravens, and they still force-fed him 12 carries, even though he only practiced for 2 days that week. And since then, he's only come back and just looked phenomenal week in and week out. So give me Judkins, give me Breece Hall. I am going to say I would like to have Javonte Williams in the flex, though, so that makes that nice and easy. Jets are nothing special at anything, at defending anything. And so I think that game has a lot of points potential. Javonte's been rock solid. No reason to bench that guy at all. So that then eliminates the rest of the running backs. You have Genty in here, too. Jeez. I mean, you got to get Genty in after last week. He returns the Michael Myers stance, and voila, 30 points. I can't bench him. So to me, I guess you are benching Javonte. I know I was just saying, how do you have this guy on the bench when he's so damn consistent? But I cannot bench Michael Myers during Halloween season at this point. Indy, a ho-hum matchup, plus no Bowers. So you're really going to be force-feeding the run today. So I rank them in order right now. I'll go Genty number 1, Breece number 2, Judkins number 3, and then Javonte Williams a close 4th, but he's the 4th. So those 3 running backs, you're locking them in. In terms of the 2 receivers from there, I would go Deebo. No Terry McLaurin, Jayden Daniels back. Love that. He's already been their number 1 receiver, and now there's no question about who it is today. And then I personally like Keenan Allen a bit more, certainly more than Ladd at this point. One of these days, Ladd will outscore him, and we'll say, oh, there's our 2nd rounder. He finally decided to show up. until that happens, I'm going to go Keenan Allen 10 out of 10 times over him. It's close against McMillan because that secondary is absolutely pathetic. Miami. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I just avoid my chart, but the Chargers give up a ton of points to receivers too. I'm going to go Deebo, Keenan Allen. You get that little game stack going. You hope for some points there. And then again, Genty, Brees Hall, and Judkins for my 2 running backs in flex. Thank you so much, Don Moore, for a very generous super chat. And thank you, Bully Season, for these super chat. Up to 17 on the day. You guys are unbelievable. Vikings defense or Cardinals defense. I would be rolling with probably great spots for both these guys, right? You got the Cleveland Browns, Dylan Gabriel's first start. Maybe he comes in and lights it up. I had to look. I don't like Bully Season to look at my rankings, but I wanted to take a peek. I have the Vikings 3, Cardinals 4. So neck and neck. Couldn't be any closer. But I do lean slightly to the Vikings here. Cards at home against Tennessee is juicy as anything, but I do go Vikings very, very subtly. Just 2 weeks ago, they had like a 30-something point day, and I just don't – Cardinals could have a 20-point day, and you'd always take that from your defense, but they just don't quite have the juice of Brian Flores. And you might have heard the quote this week where he said, yeah, Dylan Gabriel reminds me a lot of Tua, and nobody hated Tua more than his own coach, Brian Flores. He's going to be blitzing the absolute living crap out of Dylan Gabriel today. And maybe the kid rises to the occasion. We're like, wow, blown away. I don't think so. I think he's going to get completely manhandled. And I think the Vikings defense is a smash today. I think both defenses are smashes, but I'm going to go with the Vikings there. Josh Montgomery, thank you so much for your generous super chat. Good sir. 1-point PPR super flex, 5-point passing touchdowns. Wentz or Rattler, need one. Oh boy, Josh. We're in the weeds today. I got to go with Rattler on that case. One of my least favorite quotes of a player all time is, I don't feel like I'm playing losing football despite going 0-13 in his starts so far. Okay, so what are you doing? Playing winning football? It doesn't seem to be the case, Rattler. He's not great. I think he's under 11 fantasy points in 3 out of those 4 starts so far this year. Under 14 rather. 11, 21, 12, and 14 points. I guess Wentz did look okay, but I think Cleveland is just going to destroy the game, rather. I don't know if anybody destroys anybody. I think the over-under is 36.5, the lowest we've had, I believe, in 2 seasons. It's ugly out there. I'd go to, is Jake Browning? Did somebody drop him? Is Bryce Young out there? If none of those guys are out there, gun to my head, I have to pick one. I'll go to the guy that has Justin Jefferson at his disposal, and I'll go to Carson Wentz there. But I can't tell you I feel good about it at all. And then we need one running back here. Mason, Harvey, Charbs, Pollard. I'd probably go Pollard. I know Spears is likely back. They're going to ease him in, though. We'll see how he does. I think this becomes more of like a 70-30 rather than like a 90-10. So I go Pollard there. The Mason matchup worries me too much. Harvey doing all his damage in garbage time against the Bengals defense that can't stop anybody on the ground. Now gets a Philly defense that stops most people. And then Charbs, touchdown or bust. Poor man's David Montgomery. Maybe he scores for you and he's the best option here, but when he doesn't, he's going to be the worst option for you. So give me Pollard. 18 touches. Hopefully he finally finds the end zone. So I go Wentz and I go Pollard. Best of luck, Josh, for you. Miami, pick 2. Cook, Rico, or Genty, Stroud, or Geno. You got to bench Rico. And I am a huge fan of Rico today. Smash spot against the Dolphins. Top 20 running back for me, but Genty and Cook are top 10 running backs for me. In fact, borderline top 5 guys. You can't bench James Cook the way he's running, and the Pats defense gives you no reason to want to bench him. And then Genty, as talked about, brings back the Michael Myers stance, immediately rips off 30 points. Yeah, I get it. It was the Bears defense. Everybody rips off massive games against them. But when you do find like a fundamental change, the coach is not overthinking with the guy. Oh, you got to get enough 3 points. Oh, you got to have your knees bent more. Let the man play the way that he dominated college football like no other running back has ever played. And they did. They finally did. They stopped overthinking it. And what did we have happen? I actually think it matters. I know that might seem very trivial, a stance making all this difference. I think it really matters for a running back, the way he sees the field, the way he's comfortable. Let him just play how he plays. There's less thinking. Instead of thinking, are my knees okay on my stance this right now? It's let me just dominate this defense and go manhandle them. I love Genty. I think Genty's a great play today. I like Cook even more. So as good as Rico is today, there's no way you're putting him in over those two guys, Miami. Stroud or Geno, that's a little tougher, especially with Geno now losing. Brock Bowers becomes a little less firepower. You got Stroud against the absolutely abysmal Baltimore defense. And he's played okay. Not good, but okay. I'm going to go Stroud. I'm going to go Stroud there, especially after losing Bowers there. I'm going to go Stroud. Manny, thank you so much for the super chat. Consistently so supporting your boy. Always seeing you pop up here. Running back 2/flex. Walker the third, Woody, Jordan Mason, Rachaad White, Keenan Allen. I am going to go with Ken Walker and Woody J as my two picks here. Very slightly over Rachaad White, who should get featured workloads. But as I mentioned, we've seen Sean Tucker end up taking over backfields. He's a very talented guy. I would not rule him out seeing 15-ish touches himself and then making Rachaad White a mediocre play. Woody, running back 19 for me. Ken Walker, running back 15 for me. He's so explosive, so talented. Sucks that he's got a goal line vulture, of course, but I do like Woody and I like Ken Walker a lot. I think, I would go with that. I'm just wondering, like, where do I bump a tier? I think Woody Marks belongs in the tier with Ken Walker. So I'm going to bump him up. I have Walker just a little higher than I think he deserves to be. But I still would put him above these other options. Keenan Allen's like the closest flex option, but I still think I'd go those two running backs, Walker and Woody. My guy, Manny, thank you so much. John with the second super chat of the day for yourself. Thank you so much. PPR Bond or Ridley, Mason or Rachaad? Definitely going Rachaad. The PPR only helps him out. I think he will be the featured back today. And the matchup isn't amazing against Seattle by any means. Tough defense. I don't think they've even allowed a single rushing touchdown this year, if I'm not mistaken. But Mason's an even tougher matchup. Cleveland, brutal on the ground. They've taken amazing backs out of the games so far this year. So give me Rachaad White. And it does get tougher because I have no love for Calvin Ridley, no interest in playing him. That, again, being said, toughest matchup on paper for Isaiah Bond. Still, to me, feels like a kind of Hail Mary play that I like but don't love. So I'd just go for Ridley at this point. You get a great spot against an Arizona secondary that I guess I shouldn't call it great, but it's certainly better than a Vikings defense that's the best against wide receivers so far this year. So I'm going to go Ridley. I still love seeing what Bond does this morning, especially in leagues that allow you to roster churn and pick him up. Doesn't do anything. Cut him for Jadon Blue. Doesn't do anything. Cut him for Brashard Smith on Monday Night Football. Sean Tucker at 4 p.m. first, Move through those guys. Stack your roster as the games are going. But I'd go Calvin Ridley over Isaiah Bond. And again, I'd go Rachaad White over Mason myself. Ethan Pugh, thank you so much for the super chat. How confident you are in Marks over White? Not super confident. I believe I have them one or two spots in the rankings within each other within the same tier, which always indicates, hey, if you prefer this guy to that guy, you can justifiably do that. Although I did bump Marks into the tier above him, I do feel pretty good, I will say, about Marks over White. Just talent gap-wise, Marks looks so explosive. Looks like this year's Bucky Irving. I like the workload White will get. He's just nothing overly special at this point. It's a very tough matchup against Seattle as well. Whereas Marks gets the single easiest matchup you can get as a running back against a Baltimore defense that can't defend backs through the air, can't defend backs on the ground, and Marks can do it all. He seems to be taking over that backfield more and more each and every week. So I do like Marks over White fairly confidently. Ethan Pugh, matchup-wise, talent-wise, I think the workload is the only argument you might check the box off for White, and even then I think Sean Tucker is so good that you can't confidently say that. So I am pretty good on that one, Ethan. I do like Marks there. Bully Season 28, your second super chat. Cheers. Thank you so much, brother. PPR, AJ or Shakir? Worried about AJ squeaky wheel? No, in fact, I like the squeaky wheel. The squeaky wheel often gets the grease. You have Devonta Smith also being a squeaky wheel now. And, I mean, even if they're not squeaky, against Denver, a good secondary, but a team where you're probably going to need to actually throw the ball. You can't just pound them out like they've done to some of the weaker opponents. I am worried more so about Surtain than I am the squeaky wheel. The squeaky wheel I like. We also just saw Surtain get put in the blender by Quentin Johnston too. So I play A.J. Brown over Shakir. I do. Even in full PPR where Shakir does benefit, I could not, in my right mind, as frustrating as A.J. Brown has been, I can't bench him for Khalil Shakir myself. John, the third super chat of the day. Good, sir. I want to remind you, too, I'll never say no to your support. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. You can, and maybe you have to be in and out. Maybe that's why you're asking so many super chats. But I will also answer non-super chats. I plan to. I mean, you guys keep filling up the mailbag with super chats. Maybe not. I don't want you to feel like you have to only ask questions with super chats, but you're so kind and generous. Thank you so much, John. Henderson or Bill, PPR, thank you. Oof. This is a brutal one. I'll take a quick peek. I don't like to do that. I have to click my rankings real quick. Trevion, 26. Bill, 27. I love when I get questions like that. Same tier and everything, too. You got 2 3-headed committees, though, right? Whereas Henderson, there's a world where I could see them saying, okay, we're facing the Bills. We need firepower. This is why we drafted you. Tonight's the night we turn over the reins. I don't know that against the Chargers. There are the rumblings that Bill Krosky-Merritt's the one that if someone emerges, it would be him. But they're very content right now. Rodriguez is playing fine ball. McNichols is a great pass catcher. At least Henderson, you have some receiving upside, whereas Bill, it's like you hope he finds the end zone. And he does a good job of that, but the Chargers are a good defense. He didn't find it last week. Henderson did find it. I know they're as close as can be. So I'm having a tough time sifting through these two guys. But we're looking at Bill. The games he hasn't scored, running back 61 and running back 43, 7 and 4 carries in those games, and then just bleh. I'd rather, when you're only getting 9 touches out of your guy, and that's probably going to be the case for Henderson, 9, maybe 12 touches, I'll take the one that's the second-round pick, the more explosive guy, the one in a matchup that could scream, we need points, let's use this guy. Push comes to shove, I'm going to go Henderson on that one, John. Thank you so much, by the way, John, again, for 3 super chats today. Very, very kind of you. Maybe a new record in terms of like single person super chatting. The Zan, PPR, need 3. Roddy White. Throwback right there. I'm guessing Rachaad White, not Roddy White. Although Roddy can be welcome back to the team. Rachaad White, Monty, Ken Walker, Etienne. So we got to bench one of these running backs. Certainly not benching Monty. I actually kind of like Monty for 3 touchdowns today. It's like plus like 3,000. Call me crazy, but I don't hate that bet at all. Ken Walker, too talented to bench as well. I do have Monty just above Walker in my latest update that I'll push through. And Etienne's just playing 2 great ball to bench right now. So as good as you can feel about Rachaad White taking over this week with no Bucky Irving, I keep wanting to remind people, Sean Tucker is an absolute beast and had 192 yards and 2 touchdowns on his only game with double-digit touches in his career. And so I could see them really trying to see, okay, yeah, we know what we have in White. He's going to certainly start. He's going to be involved. He might score. But I wouldn't be shocked if Sean Tucker is more heavily involved than what people are expecting. And so I think White comes with the biggest risk just from a talent perspective, from a workload's not quite as great as it might look on paper perspective. I go Monty, Walker, and Etienne myself, the Zan. Arizona or Browns D for FC Where. I love the Browns today. Minnesota giving up the most points to opposing defenses, certainly since Carson Wentz took over as well. I love it. I think you're getting a touchdown in London from the Browns D. And I love Arizona. I had the plus 650 to score a touchdown. I think it's a great bet too. But give me the Browns. My number 2 defense versus my number 4. It's the Browns for me. I let them rip. And Ryan Rodell, thank you so much, sir, for the super chat. Pick 3, half PPR. Tet, Olave, White, or Dowdle. Got to bench one. And for me, I'm benching Olave. I have to start him in a league. I wish I could bench him. It's one of those classic, you can't bench a 15 target a week type of guy. Yeah, you can when all those 15 targets amount to is 55 yards. You could have 30 targets and he's going to get to 55 yards. That's like capped. We've hit 55 yards. No more for Olave. Can't do it. At least while you have Rattler at QB. I hope they make the switch to Show. I would love if they traded for Jameis Winston. I'd be over the moon. Out of these options, Olave, yeah, you got 2 running backs stepping into starting roles with likely 15 to 20 touches. And in Dowdle's case, a great matchup. White, not so much, but we know he can catch the rock. And then Tet facing Miami, beautiful spot for him too. So I like both your Panthers. I like Rachaad White there, Ryan. Olavi finds the bench for me. RJ McConkey, Dobbins or Dowdle. Ooh, this is where we get tough, right? Because Dobbins just looking incredible, but isn't a split backfield. Whereas Dowdle should be the true featured back, no questions asked, in a great matchup against Miami. I still go Dobbins, though. I'm a Dobbins owner, so I do admit I have a little bit of bias there, but he just is a phenomenal back. And I think whereas, against the Bengals, the matchup is ripe. He rips off 100 yards, but then gets benched. He could have gone for 30 points that night. He really could have. You're going to need him against the Eagles. That's a physical team, and Dobbins is your way to get physical back. Dowdle should be very good, but you can totally see him 20 carries, 82 yards, no touchdowns, 1 catch, 3 yards, and ho-hum 8.9. And maybe that's Dobbins' line too, but I like that offense better. I love the line. I think that game is going to be a tight one, so you're not going to get Dobbins on the bench during garbage time again. I go Dobbins. Very good question, though. Cooler hand. Everyone's saying Judkins over Scat. PPR thoughts? Especially in full PPR, the gap. I have them running back 11 and 12. I have Judkins 11, Scatabo 12. So I typically agree Judkins over Scat. But in a full PPR, that gap changes. And I actually flip them because Scatabo is the entire passing game right now. And Slayton will step up and Wandale will catch some balls. But Scat's going to get probably 5 to 6 catches on his own. He's probably going to find the end zone. Boom, you got 12 points. Now, how many yards does he do around that? Well, you're facing New Orleans. He could rack up 120 total yards. So to me, especially in PPR, I do think Scat is just a tad higher of a ceiling. So I go Scatabo, yeah, in a full PPR. I'm not with everybody in that one. I have them neck and neck in half PPR. And I do have Judkins a little bit higher, 11 versus 12. But I go Judkins in half PPR. I flip that in full just because the pass catching upside is significantly higher for Scatabo. I love Scatabo. Dylan Bowen, up to 24 super chats. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. Full PPR, QJ or Judkins? Oh, 2 of my absolute favorites. Playing Hampton, Genti, Nico, and Buka unless you'd sit someone else. I agree with both those calls. I have them both above, both running backs above Judkins. I have both receivers above Quentin Johnston. But I'll tell you, not by much. I have Buka at receiver 9 and Johnston at 10. And I have Genti at running back 9 and Judkins at running back 11. So they're all very close. I'm going Johnston, especially in full PPR. Great matchup against Washington. The guy is absolutely cooking. I mean, let me just quickly read you off. You're well aware as an owner, I'm sure, of his game logs, but in full PPR, especially wide receiver 3, wide receiver 23, wide receiver 21, wide receiver 6, 24, 16, 15, and 24 points. I mean, Judkins getting 14 would be a very solid day, but might take him 80 yards and a touchdown, hard fought on the ground against a good Vikings D, not a great run D. I think the path to 14, the seeming floor for Johnston right now, is a lot faster and safer than it is for Judkins. And then you have much more of a blow-up upside, in my opinion, to Johnston as well. So it's crazy to say QJ is like a safe floor. I think we're at the point where we have to accept it. Like he's their number one. 7, 7, 10, 13 targets only going up by the week. I love it. The guy's an absolute baller. I'm going Quentin Johnston there over Judkins. And I'd agree again. I'd play those other guys above him. That wraps up, Wolfpack, our first 24 Super Chats. We are well into the first hour of the show, 9:06. I'll be going to 10:02-ish because I was a couple minutes late here today. So one more hour for you folks before signing off. We'll answer as many questions as we can get to, but it is a loaded mailbag. So I will say, especially if you have somebody for that 9:30 game and you just got your question in and you really need an answer, I again, don't force Super Chats by any means, but if you want to make sure you have an answer for anybody involved in a 9:30 game and you just got your question in, it's going to probably be unlikely that I get to it. But thank you again so much for your generosity, everybody, with all of those Super Chats. I will just say a thumbs up button here would mean the world, a free way to support your boy. We're at nearly 1,800 of you here. In fact, we just hit 1,800. You love to see it in the first hour. Maybe we can approach that 3K that we hit just 2 weeks ago. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for being here with me. please consider that thumbs up, that heart button on Twitter, the likes, the share, the retweets. It all goes so long. Johnny, I'm going to get that question. I need some water. I left it over here on the other desk. And then I will get to your question. Because we're going fast and furious today, baby. Whew. All right, water down. Here we go. Jayden Daniels or Drake May. Call me crazy. I have Jayden Daniels quarterback too, and I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be. I'm +6 ECR on the guy. I guess, yeah, he's coming back from injury, but would they really be forcing him? 2 weeks ago, they were saying if this was a playoff game, he'd likely be able to play. We're playing it safe with our guy. And now he's in. And to me, it's like if Daniels is in, you're playing him. There's really no question to me about it. So, yeah, I love Jayden Daniels today. I play him. Maybe less mobility today because of the injury, and they don't want to run him around. +260 to score a rushing touchdown, one of my favorite bets on the day. I love Drake May, too. They're in the same tier for me. My quarterback 2, my quarterback 6. I think the ECR would tell you play Drake May. I go Jayden Daniels myself, though. Eric Buckman. Need to fill a running back, receiver, and flex spot. Henderson, Dowdle, Jamo, Godwin, Slayton. For the running back spot, I'm going to go Dowdle over Henderson. Just 20 touches, good matchup. Lock it in. Rico Suave, baby. And then the receiver spot, I definitely go Jamo over Slayton, but do I do it over Godwin? I really like what I saw out of Godwin last week. Again, full-time route share, 90% of the routes, 10 targets, inefficient with them, 3 for 26. But now you get Seattle, who's down a couple corners, maybe a safety as well. I'm probably going to go Dowdle, Jamo, Godwin, and play those 3. Henderson, just three-headed nightmare. The team, I need them to unleash the guy. I'm so in love with the talent. But when, Antonio Gibson is seeing near equal touches and Ramondre is seeing more, it's like, okay, what can we bank on? So give me Dowdle, Jamo, Godwin. Love Slayton today too, but to me, you got 3 other options that are better than him. So I would go with Dowdle, Jamo, Godwin myself. Droid, morning. Good morning to you, sir. Pick one flex, QB, and tight end. JK or Rico? I'm going JK. Probably going to put Rico in the flex, though, but let's find out. I'm definitely doing Fields over Dart. That one's not close for me. Cowboys just too much of a doormat. You have to play. Really, Juwan Andrews or Mason Taylor for the tight end spot. It's not Juwan for me anymore. As a Juwan owner, I'm looking to pivot to Mason Taylor myself, but then Andrews is playing with Cooper Rush. Can you trust that? I would say this. I might like Darren Waller more than either of these guys if he's out there. But I would probably go with I don't know. I want to say Mark Andrews because Cooper Rush, when he started for the Cowboys, he loved to hit Fergie, and then Fergie was out in Schoonmaker was even having some decent days with him. I think I'm going to keep Andrews. He's got a couple good games under his belt these last 2 weeks. I know it, fat and useless. You guys have heard me rip on this guy, but after having 1-1 targets, he went 6-7 the next 2 weeks. But he only had 3 points. I actually like Mason Taylor here. I'm adjusting Andrews too. I have him too high in my ranks. He's fat and useless, and now he has an even worse quarterback. I'm +5 ECR on Mason Taylor, so just so you know, I'm significantly above what the expert community thinks, Troy. But I'm going Taylor there. And then your flex would be Rico over any of those tight ends. Yo soy Tony, morning. Oh no, we have a couple super chats, Tony. Sorry, gonna have to pop over here to Anthony Fella. Thank you so much, Mr. Fella. Start 2, full PPR. Mason, Charb, or Harvey? I would go Mason's my favorite, and I hate to say it because I hate the Cleveland matchup. But you're getting 16 to 20 carries. You need one of them to go in the end zone, and you can breathe a sigh of relief. If he doesn't, you might be looking at 3 points. But you might be looking at that from Charb, who's also contending with Kenneth Walker and probably only going to get 10 carries. Charb is a ceiling there. And the matchup against Tampa Bay, fine but not great. Harvey, yeah, like I love what I saw last week. Finally getting involved, looking very explosive doing so. So much of that was in garbage time. So much of it was because you were facing the Bengals. But maybe it's a situation where you can't put it back in the genie back in the bottle, the toothpaste in the tube. Genie's a pretty high praise for Harvey. I wouldn't call him that, but toothpaste maybe. I think I go Harvey. I liked what I saw. I think the team will interestingly mix him in at receiver, even with Dobbins in the backfield a bit too. And to me, Charb is just like you're getting 8 carries, maybe 10, and you hope one goes into the end zone. They are a good run scheme, but it's a poor man David Montgomery, as I keep calling him. And I'd rather have Mason. The bet's similar with Mason. You're just guaranteed a few more carries from to either break one or rack up a couple more yards. And Harvey's just so explosive, and I think he's just way more exciting to put in the lineup. I'm going to bench Charb there, especially with the full PPR too. You have a much better chance of Harvey racking up a couple of those dink and dunks. My man, Coach Zeke, great to see you, brother. Good morning. Need 2 half PPR. Bond, Downs, Pacheco. Oh, boy. I mean, you know how this goes, Zeke, with Pacheco. You bench him, he scores the touchdown. You put him in there, he's going to suck. I still like Pacheco more than these guys. I would probably be leaning Downs and Pacheco. I am very, very intrigued. We're getting a few questions about Isaiah Bond, and I want to reiterate my stance on him is I really am so intrigued to see what this talent does. But this is the hardest matchup. I want to make sure I'm absolutely right with that. Points against. I'm just going to double check real quick because I keep saying it. Minnesota Vikings, fewest points allowed to wide receivers on the year. Quarterback change should ideally be a good thing, but not a guarantee by any means. DK did have 21 points against him, and Rome they held, though. Drake London to 4. Jamar Chase to 6.4. Yeah, it was with Burrow hurt, but this team has taken out most of the receivers it's faced. And you got a quarterback change. Downs, you have no Alec Pierce today, a little bit clearer path to the volume. Raiders are a horrific pass defense, more so against big plays, which isn't necessarily Downs' specialty, but I like Downs there. I'm going to go Downs and Pacheco, Coach Zeke. I think both of them are better bets to score. Bond, it could be one of those goose eggs at 9:30 in the morning. Shoot, if he catches a 70-yard bomb and scores a touchdown, you're going to hate me, Coach Zeke, and I'd apologize already if it happens. But I got to go Downs and Pacheco in this one. Toughest matchup for wide receivers, an unknown at quarterback. I can see why you want to take the risk. These other options aren't great, but that's a little bit too big of a leap for me, Coach Zeke. And then we got Mountain Man, your second super chat of the day. You are so kind and generous. Full PPR pick 2, Dowdle, White, Demo, and hit the like button, chat. Indeed, a reminder to everybody out there, we're almost at 2,000 already. You guys are awesome. You can help me out get there. With that thumbs up button, helps us get out to more people. The heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets. I know you're annoyed to hearing it, but it does help us out so much. And Mountain Man gave the reminder, so why don't I? Thank you so much, Mountain Man. I would be benching Rachaad White here. I love Dowdle. We talked about it, 20-ish touches against Miami. Doormat defense. I think he finds the end zone. I think we get about 15 fantasy points. Ho-hum, get him in there. Beautiful. And then I love Montgomery, the best matchup for running backs. Cincinnati, a complete doormat. I really do think him and Gibbs combined for 5 touchdowns today. Now, who gets 3, who gets 2, I don't know. But I do think this is one of those games where the Lions just don't stop running the ball. We see 50 to 60 carries, and both of these guys, or maybe it's 2 and 2, and then like Craig Reynolds comes in for a touchdown. I think we're getting 5 rushing touchdowns from the Lions today. And I love David Montgomery to be at least 2 of those. So White, intriguing starter, yes, but a reminder again with all the White questions, I'm a big Sean Tucker fan. 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. The last time he had double-digit touches, I think he gets up there. Today, they hyped him up this preseason as a third starting running back, that if they needed to step him up, they have full faith in him. So I think White is very intriguing. Will definitely catch some balls. To me, the other 2 ceilings are way, way higher than Rachaad White. Thank you so much, Mountain Man. And Ethan Pugh, a very, very generous super chat. Hey, if you're gonna super chat $10, you can ask trade questions any day of the week, Ethan Pugh. That is totally fine. And no, it's a worthwhile place here. Granted, if it's a rapid fire and I'm ripping through, I don't typically do a trade question, but if it's a $10 super chat and a rapid fire, I'll pause the rapid fire for it. So you can always ask any question you want. We've had people ask me to show them nipple for $10. So Ethan Pugh, no, this is totally viable. Would you trade Etienne and BTJ or Pearsall for Judkins? I think it's a lot. I think you're selling low on BTJ. If I was going to do one of them, I think I would do Etienne and Pearsall. You like the idea of consolidating. I understand that, but you don't want to consolidate too soon. Depth is significantly undervalued, I think, in fantasy because everyone wants to, okay, I've now got a better starter. And do I like Judkins more than Etienne the rest of the year? Yes, absolutely. And I think I'm actually in the minority there. I think if you're doing Etienne and one of these receivers, you should be going to the tier up, a James Cook, Marion Hampton. I like Judkins a lot. He's a low-end running back one. I think Etienne and those receivers are closer to a mid-range RB1. I think BTJ, maybe he doesn't pan out, and maybe he's just the biggest bust of the year. But I think at some point it will click. Maybe not with Trevor Lawrence, though. I don't know. But to me, I just don't think the jump from Etienne to Judkins, while I do have Judkins higher, it might be 1 or 2 spots rest of the season higher, not a BTJ or Pearsall worth of jump. So to me, I think you're giving up more than you're getting. At minimum, I'd say you got to get Judkins in another piece. And if your whole idea is like, I just like to consolidate, towards the end of the season, once the trade deadline's hitting and your bye weeks are through, okay, yeah, we only get one lineup. But even then, you're playing matchups, injuries happen in the fantasy playoffs, and suddenly you're scrambling and you're starting a waiver wire guy instead of Pearsall, who you can just plug in suddenly. Don't undervalue your depth. It's very important during bye weeks. It can even help you in the playoffs when you don't think depth's going to matter. You suffer an injury, but you at least have someone that can go into your championship game, and it might not be your number one receiver that you lost, but hey, Pearsall's not a huge step down type of situation, right? So I'm with you. You always kind of want the best starter possible. I don't think Judkins is either of those receivers worth of a leap ahead of Etienne myself. And I love Judkins. You're talking about one of the bigger Judkins guys out there. Still not, and one of the lower Etienne guys out there too. And I still think you're giving up too much for him. Mr. Fella, full PPR, tight end, half premium. Johnson or Tremble? I got to go Johnson. I know Tremble scored last week. I know Jatavian Sanders is out. It's Tommy Tremble. I don't want that in there. I'm going to go Juwan Johnson. I'm worried about Taysom Hill coming back. I'm worried about Foster Moreau coming back. I don't like Johnson much. I wish you had Darren Waller. I think there's other guys. I like Mason Taylor even more if he's somehow lingering out there in the waivers. But if it's these two, to me, it's Juwan Johnson. Because, yeah, I think he will be. There is a world, though. It's like, he's our number 2 wide receiver like he's been all year. He's been a 98% route guy, and these other guys are mixing in for trick plays. Well, he's still out there type of thing. So I'm going Juwan Johnson there. And a good matchup against the Giants to boot, too. Jose Rodriguez. Ayo Manor, Shaheed, or Malik Washington. Pick one. It's going to come down to Malik or Manor for me. I am leaning Malik, I think. I think a lot of the manufactured quick hit stuff that Tyreek was known for, you think, yeah, Waddle should step up and inherit that, but I actually think it's going to be Malik Washington that takes on more of it. I do love Ayo Manor, though. Oh, man, you're making this one tough for me because 2 of my favorite sleepers of the week at wide receiver. And, I mean, we've had pretty solid production for Ayo Manor. Your full PPR. So let me just confirm what his logs and finishes are. 3.3, 15, 13.8, 6.4. Yeah, so wide receiver 87, 24, 27, 61. It has been a little bit more boom bust than I expected that to be. Cam Ward's been, in his own words, we ass. I'm going to go Malik Washington. I'm going to bump him ahead of Ayo Manor in my rankings as well. I think I'm a little too high on Ayo Manor. And I like him, I do, but a little too high in my rankings. I would actually rank these guys Washington, Shaheed, Ayo Manor myself. And Jose, I'm going to admit, though, I do have a little bias because I'm starting Malik Washington, so maybe I'm just trying to see that with the rosier colored glasses. But I really like the role. Carolina's been good against receivers this year, but I think that's more so just because teams can run, and run some more on them. It's not so much of them having these insane cornerbacks that just lock down with receiver ones. Just teams don't have to throw against them because they can just bleed them out through the ground game all day. Thank you so much, everybody. 30 super chats. Maybe we will. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe we will break the record today for super chats. You guys are so kind. Thank you so much. Reminder, a free way to help your boy. We're over 2,000 of you here. Is that thumbs up button, that heart button, like, shares, retweets, subs. All of that is free for you to do, and it greatly, greatly helps your boy out. So if you're finding this to be helpful at all, please do consider hitting that like button, that thumbs up button. Of course, you can continue to cut the line with those super chats. We got about 7 minutes till kickoff. I'm going to be going live past 10 o'clock, though. But if you do need a 9:30 game question, your best bet's probably a super chat at this point. Or you can go check. I'm going to make sure actually to publish my rankings here because we do have that game about to kick off. So I'm going to publish these real quick so you'll have it fresh, updated, and I'll keep updating them as we go here. But these fresh rankings are free and at rotostreetjournal.com. You can find them on my Twitter at rotostreetwolf as well, pinned to the top. I'm just getting the new code in there for the latest updates ahead of the 9:30 game, just to make sure those changes get in. And we did get a super chat. So Sugar Shack, thank you so much. Sugar Schmacks, rather. Great cereal. Pick 2 for flex. Woody Marks, JMO, or BTJ. Happy PPR. The runaway favorite for me, Sugar Smack, is Woody Marks. Love the guy, running back 19 for me. Best matchup for running backs you could ask for. Number 1 in points allowed, giving it through the air, giving it on the ground. Woody Marks can do both. We continue to see him take on more and more snaps, touches, everything. Full takeover in the process. Kind of this year's Bucky Irving, maybe. Seems like it so far with Woody Marks. Love him. Love the spot today. He's my favorite here. JMO versus BTJ is tougher, but I am going to go with BTJ. Chiefs are a top, I'm going to check it right now, but I believe they're a top 10 matchup for wide receivers on the year. Oh, no, wow. So that's flipped because they started the year as a smash spot after Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen buried them. But since then, they have been pretty stout against receivers, actually. Devonta 7, A.J. Brown 5, Malik Neighbors 2.3, but I think that's the game he got hurt. Oh, no, it's not, though. They just completely took him out. Zay Flowers 10.9. Oh, maybe I'm going to go JMO. I anticipated being like, the Chiefs aren't a bad matchup. You're hoping for BTJ to break out of it. I actually think I'm going to go JMO there. I don't think my rankings reflect that. No, I have BTJ. I just do think, though, too, it's like the second you bench BTJ, he's going to spit in your face and be like, ha-ha. And then you're going to put him back in, and he's going to spit right back at you again. And JMO, so I'm looking at the game logs here, and we got 9, 7, 7, 8 in half PPR for BTJ. Bad, certainly for your second round pick, very bad. Whereas JMO, it's 5, 5, 18, and 5. You know what you're getting. You're either going to get like 7 to 8 out of BTJ. That's a nice floor. And I do think he does have that eruption ceiling. We haven't seen it yet this year, but we know he has it. He did it all last year, especially with Matt Jones at quarterback, the new stud, apparently, Matt Jones. I'm going to go with BTJ. I think you're looking at two guys that have eruption potential, but one of them, when he doesn't erupt, in JMO, absolutely sucks. And I'm already on record saying I think the Lions run in 5 touchdowns today. So if they do that, there's not much room for JMO to actually erupt as well, even though it is a blow-up spot against Cincy. I know I'm going back and forth. Woody Marks is my favorite. The 2 receivers are kind of a coin flip for me. If I had this decision staring me in the face, I'd go with my second rounder. I'd go BTJ. I'd slap him on the ass and say, go earn it, sir, and see what he does. I am worried about if he'll ever actually earn it with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, but it's not like JMO has done much to really make you feel ultra confident in him. It is a gut feel, though, here, Sugar. It's like if you're feeling this is the JMO touchdown week, then you know what you're getting. But I'm going to go Woody and BTJ myself. Thank you so much for your super chat, good sir. All righty, Kimberly, back to you. We're at the 4:07 mark for questions. 4:07 a.m., the tent overnight people. You'll love to see it. Morning Wolf. Should I pick up Slayton or Diggs for JMO? I would be going, I think my favorite option of these 3 is Diggs. He played a lot more slot, A lot more routes. It's just kind of it was that first game where you're like, all right, that's Diggs. There's Stephon Diggs. That's the guy we signed to be a true wide receiver one. And May even made some of those comments, like, seems like he's fully healthy, fully back into the offense. And the big thing was, again, him kicking in the slot, whereas Demario Douglas was taking a lot of those reps. Diggs kicked in. He played all the 3 receiver sets, all the 2 receiver sets. Seems like he's finally kind of gaining that I am the number one here type of level. And you also get Buffalo revenge game today. So I'm going to go Diggs, then J-Mo, then Slayton is how I would rank them. I do like Diggs the most. Juice Man, 12-team PPR. Need a running back 2, tight end. Walker or Willie? Woody Marks is probably what you meant. And Juwan or Fannin. I'll tell you, I think I had Walker earlier above Woody Marks. And the more I've thought about it, it's just like 2 committee backs. One gets the best matchup you can possibly ask for and is ascending and taking over the backfield. And we know Walker is probably the lead back today, but Charbonnet, the goal line vulture there. I like Woody Marks. The more I talk about him, the more excited I get. The matchup is so ripe. Yeah, give me Woody. Give me Woody Marks. And then we are Juice Man again. 10-team PPR. I'm dealing with injury receiver. Need a wide receiver 2 and a flex pick 2. Io Minor, Hollywood, Coleman, Franklin, Chubb, and DeMarcado. I think I'm going to toss DeMarcado into the flex, Juice Man. And then for the wide receiver, it is ugly. You didn't lie there. I think I go Coleman tonight. It comes down to me, Coleman and Io Minor, the 2 that I limited to. I like DeMarcado the most for the flex again. I think he's got a nose for the end zone. Love him at plus 290 today to score. And of the wide receivers, I limited to Io Minor and Coleman myself. And I think I personally would go Coleman on Sunday Night Football as a heads up. And Eli, thank you so much for just showing some love to your boy. Greatly appreciate it. If you do have a question, we'll be on the lookout for it so we can pull you up fast. But thank you so much for just sharing some love, brother. Greatly appreciate it. Lucio, half PPR flex. Judkins or Tet? I'm definitely going Judkins there. Give me the featured running back in a not-so-bad spot for backs. Minnesota, good D, but they're especially giving up a lot of yards after contact to backs, and that's what Judkins is doing as good as anybody in the league right now. Tien Nguyen, Henderson or DeMarcado, half PPR. I'm going to go – I like DeMarcado more. I don't think I have that ranked that way. 2 committee backs, but, Henderson in a 3-headed nightmare. DeMarcado might be a 3-headed nightmare, but, yeah, I'm pumping him up. I like DeMarcado more. Again, just a nose for the end zone against a team, and the Titans have given up more touchdowns to backs than anybody. Everybody thinks it's going to be Carter who scores, and it very well could be, but DeMarcado scored last week. He's been with the team longer. I like DeMarcado there. Higgins or Slayton? I'm going Slayton. Love Darius Slayton this week. Plus 330 to score. Very good odds there. And, I just don't want anything to do with Higgins this week. I mean, maybe Browning gets it together. This is a good week to see. We're talking about with Chase, like the worst 2 possible matchups for receivers and quarterbacks the Bengals had to face with Browning's first 2 starts. Middle of the pack for now with the Lions and a game flow that should require them to chuck. Seems to me like it should be Higgins, but I barely trust Chase with this guy right now. Never mind the number 2 receiver. So I'm going to go Slayton over T. Higgins. Andrew Myers, thank you so much for your generosity with the super chat, sir. Full PPR, 1 receiver and 1 flex. Worthy, Scat, Thomas, J-Mo, and Mika. Wow, great options here, sir. Also, Hurts or May. I have a student, we do a fantasy football club where I teach. He had that same exact question this week when we met for the fantasy club. And I said Drake May. Chasing points against the Bills. Rock solid right now, leading the NFL in completion percentage. I love Drake May, baby. Pats fan in me might be coming out. Hurts, tough matchup against the Broncos. Sometimes the tough matchups actually pan out better for him because they lean on him more. I still go Drake May, though. And then in terms of the wide receivers, awesome options. I go Emeka Egbuka for the first wide receiver spot, and I go Scatterbo for the flex. One of the few backs that really does benefit from full PPR, a lot of dink and ducks. I bet you he catches 5 to 6 balls, finds the end zone, boom. You're already at 12 points. Now, how many yards does he rack up among them? You got the Saints. Should be pretty healthy. So I love Scatterbo there. Worthy, very, very tempting as well. To me, JMO and Brian Thomas are kind of the distant guys. And sure, they have the blow-up upside as much as anybody. But I feel like you're going to get something out of Vic, no doubt about it. Just as much blow-up upside, too. And then I think Scatterbo, you're looking at 20-plus touches against bad defense. Boom. Lock them in. That's how I feel, Andrew. Thank you so much for your generous super chat. Good, sir. All righty. And we are back. We left off with Juice Man. We got offered Javonte Williams and Pearsall for JSN Walker. I like the JSN Walker side of that. I don't have enough time, King Retros, to go through like all the context there. But I do prefer JSN Walker among those teams. Juice Man, 10-man PPR 2 flex league. Need a wide receiver 2 in my second flex. I'm guessing you mean Wandale. Yeah, what's with the Willie? You got to check that spelling today, Juice Man. Willie, Wendell. Need a wide receiver 2. And so I'm going to go Wandale for the wide receiver, Wendell. And then for the running back, it is definitely Woody Marks. Woody and Wendell. Willie and Wendell. Woody Wandale is who you're going with, Juice Man. Lucio, half PPR, flex, Judkins or Tet. I'm definitely going Judkins. I think that's a repeat, so I'm putting you in timeout, Lucio. You know better. You've been here a long time. All righty, Tian Nguyen, Henderson or DeMarcado. I would go DeMarcado. And Higgins said, did I go back too far? Or are you going to get put in timeout here, Tian? He might have thought because he asked it this morning. I don't know. Maybe I went back too far. Drop Ollie Gordon for Jadon. I would sugar smack, yeah. You're talking about the biggest Jadon stand preseason there ever was, and I think I am a little bit take-locked and a little biased because of it. Don't get me wrong. But Ollie, unless there's an injury, we kind of know it. Like, he might get 5 to 10 carries. On a great day, it's 10. And he looks pretty good, but there's no real ceiling if there's not an injury. Whereas Jadon, you probably do need an injury to Javonte, yes. But he also could provide that change of pace juice where it's like, yeah, we got to force this guy in for 10 carries and especially the pass catching upside. Ollie's best trait is a goal line vulture, and that's great, but that's going to be very, very boom or bust. Whereas Jadon, if he could carve out a consistent receiving role, you might actually be able to rely on that. So I'd rather see what Jadon does today. We know what we have in Ollie Gordon. I'd like to see what I have on Jadon, and then if he sucks, I'd drop him for Ollie Gordon next week, Yak, happy Sunday. The only way, Sugar Smack, I think that really hurts you is if Achane went down today. Then you'd be like, well, thanks. I just missed out on the handcuff of the year. And that would sting. Don't get me wrong. That would sting. But I personally would rather roster Jadon Blue than Ollie Gordon entering today. Yak, happy Sunday to you, sir. Need 2 receivers and a flex, half PPR. Higgins, Tucker, JMO. Tucker again. Henderson or Addison. I'm guessing you mean both Sean Tucker and Trey Tucker. Maybe it's just one of them. I like Addison the most of the wide receivers. And then I probably go JMO as well. Addison, JMO. And then for the flex, I think I'm going to go with Henderson. I just love the talent enough that Trey Tucker does intrigue me. The blow-up upside, the no Brock Bowers. But I'm going to go Addison, JMO, and Henderson for that one, Yak. We did get another super chat. My man, Levi C. What's going on, Levi? And Mia's birthday. Hey, happy birthday to you, Mia. Levi's the man. Mia's the girl. Let's go. You guys are the best. Happy birthday, Mia. Hope you have a phenomenal day. I'm sure my guy over there will make it extra special. You're a legend over there. Thank you so much for the super chat. PPR and 5-point bonuses for 40-plus yards. Should I start Henderson or Tolbert? Oh, boy. We're really in the weeds now. And Tolbert actually not that bad. In a game that I think shoots out against the Jets, it's intriguing, but I got to go with Henderson. The bonus seems to fit. I mean, Tolbert can hit those big plays too, but something about tonight, it's just like, all right, you got the Bills. You drafted this guy in the second round. He's more explosive than any player you have on your team. Great pass catcher as well. If you're not going to unleash him on a night like tonight, when you got to pull off the big upside, when are you going to do it? So I really do like Henderson tonight, my man Levi. So I'm going to go with Hendo and hope that the birthday party wraps up with a phenomenal night game tonight and you get some touchdowns out of Henderson. It's just like Tolbert, maybe he does it. Let me look up real quick. But I won't lie. I don't really know what Tolbert's been doing this year. I do know without Lamb in there. He's been more viable, but I have not done a ton of research into Tolbert. And it's a full PPR. So let me see here. So Tolbert in the games without Lamb so far, 7.4, 10.1. Like, yeah, you're probably a decent bet to get that out of Henderson with or without a touchdown. No real big plays coming from Tolbert so far. I think Henderson's your better bet at like ripping a 40-yard screen or gashing the defense. But we saw Buffalo get steamrolled by Derrick Henry. I know it's Derrick Henry, don't get me wrong, but Henry's also sucked against all three other opponents this year. And we've seen the Bills kind of get knifed through. So I like Henderson here, Levi. And again, I'm going to go Henderson there. I think so. It's just like Tolbert. What kind of juice do you get out of Tolbert? Maybe he catches a bomb for you. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm going Henderson. And happy birthday once again, Mia. Shout out to Levi as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much again every Sunday, consistently supporting your boy. Thank you so much, sir. All righty. Back to Kranishaw. Thank you so much. Always asking the golden cookie, the food questions here. And I got to go chocolate chip. No brainer. If you said oatmeal butterscotch, oatmeal chocolate chip, oh yeah. Get raisins as far as you humanly possibly can away from my cookies. They don't belong anywhere, but certainly not in my cookie. And I don't really like nuts in my cookie either. So classic chocolate chip, no doubt about it. And then we did get 2 more super chats. So Siv and Leg, sorry, but we got to pivot back over to Foxborough News. Are we over here in New England, sir? Let's go Foxborough News. Let's go Pats. Big win tonight. Let's go, baby. 16 man. I love a deep league like that. You got Njoku and Tremble for the day today. I got to go with Njoku, although ultimately Foxborough News, I think he's playing as we speak. So I'm not sure if you got him in or not. I know Tommy Tremble scored last week. I think that's the only touchdown we see out of the guy. Maybe not against Miami. It's a soft defense. I'd be going Njoku. I know him and Fannin nibbling each other's cheese, new quarterback, risky. I get all that. I do. But Njoku, we've seen at times be the number one tight end in fantasy and have these monster days. So to me, I'd rather target him. We know the talent's for real. Tremble, he lucked into a touchdown last week. I don't know that continues. So I go Njoku if you still have the ability to do it. But I think he plays as we speak, so I'm not sure if you got him in or not. Quincy Davis, what's going on? Thank you so much for the support, Quincy. 1 running back, 2 flex. Dobbins, Pollard, Bill, Sean Tucker, DeMarcado, Isaiah Davis, T. Higgins, Travis Hunter. I am going to probably pick 3 running backs here. I just don't trust Hunter at all. Maybe Monday Night Showcase. I've heard that narrative. He's in that believe it when I see it. T. Higgins also in that, like, believe it when I see it from Drake Browning if I can. Dobbins is my favorite here. I think Pollard, boring. I have Pollard and Dobbins on my team. I love Dobbins. Pollard bores the living hell out of me, but he's probably going to get you 10 points. And when you're looking at these other options, there's some boom potential to them, but there's also quite a bit of bust potential. And I like DeMarcado the most of the other remaining running backs. I just think this whole discourse on who's the best running back to have, I think it might be much ado about nothing. And it's just the guy that's been on the roster from day one, that's been a solid pass catcher his whole career, that's had a nose for the end zone his career, and that's DeMarcado. Love him at plus 290 to score today. Like him in fantasy lineups. I have him just above Bill, but I do have him above Bill. I go Dobbins, Pollard, and DeMarcado for that one, Quincy. It is nerve-wracking leaving 2 very explosive receivers like Higgins and Travis Hunter on the bench for a guy like DeMarcado. It doesn't feel good, but at the end of the day, I think DeMarcado touches that rock 12 times. T. Higgins might get 1 target from a bad quarterback. Travis Hunter might play defense the whole game. They make me nervous. I'd rather play the running backs, get the sure volume. I think Dobbins, Pollard, and DeMarcado offer that volume the most that they're possibly out of those options that you got there. Thank you so much. Again, 36 super chats. We might break the record. 40 was the record last week. You guys are so kind and so generous. 2,300 of you here today. That thumbs up button does help us get out to more people. A free way to support your boy. That thumbs up, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, and of course, any new subs. I wonder if we'll be at 4,700 by the time we hang up today. I know we're only about 10 away. So with 2,300 of you here, can I get 10 of you to hit that subscribe button? Even if you prefer Twitter, just hit that sub on YouTube just to help your boy bump those numbers up. And of course, a reminder that all the ranking and great content can be found at rotostreetjournal.com. All your clicks help us make a little bit more money. So if you're willing to go there, I know there's some ads on the site. I know it's annoying, but we don't charge a cent for you to get our content. And that's a way to support your guy and help us continue to make more money. Civ Leg, thank you so much again for your patience. Let's dive in here. Flex 1, full PPR. Malik Washington, Josh Downs, DeMarcado, Bill Njoku, or Kendre. We can only pick one. I'm going to go DeMarcado, closely followed by Malik Washington. If you feeling those vibes about Malik, very, very plausible to put him in there. I know I'm starting Malik Washington, and if I had the option to put DeMarcado in, I would. So that's kind of how I do that tiebreaker for me. But yeah, I prefer DeMarcado very slightly over those other options. Krana Shah, Dart or Donald, 6-point passing touchdowns. I'm going Dart, baby. Great matchup. He looked like the real deal. I know the rushing upside doesn't matter quite as much when all touchdowns are 6 points. But that's where it's like Darnold, you're going to get 250 yards, you're going to get a touchdown, and that's it. And he's going to be a nice 15-point day. Yay. Dart might have 3 touchdowns and rush one in 2. Much more upside to me. Bowers doesn't look like he's going to play either, Krana, so Mayer's also ruled out at this point. I think you got to go Mason Taylor here. I like Brenton Strange too, though. I go Strange, I think. Stranger things here. Stranger danger. I think I go Strange. Yeah, that's a tough one, but I think I go Strange. Robert Christensen, full PPR, Malik Washington or Troy Franklin. I would go with Malik. Carter or Kendre, I'd go Carter. Waller or Strange, I'm going Waller. JCM or DeMarcado, I'm going DeMarcado. Yeah, there you go. Good luck. Full PPR, Mason Taylor or Njoku. I like Mason Taylor. And I know that one's probably too late, but I like Mason Taylor there. And I like Pollard over Carter myself. But honestly, Carter has the higher touchdown ceiling, which is nuts. I just wanted to double check and make sure I have DeMarcado where I think, yep, I have him just below Trevion, just ahead of Bill. And I want to make sure that's represented there. And then I want to double check my tight end and make sure I have, I have Strange one spot above Mason Taylor, but I do really like Mason Taylor today. Jay, what's going on? Good. Things are going very well. Dad life's been the best, Jay. I hope you're all good too. And thank you for your super chat earlier. Good, sir. Robert Christensen, Franklin, Washington, or Bond. I'd be going Washington of those options, especially in the full PPR. A lot more of those like schemed touches, in my opinion. Bing bong. Jerry O'Connell tuning into the show today. Let's go. Bing bong. Drop Fannin from Malik Washington. Yeah, I see no reason not to. The only real path to I can actually get excited about Fannin here is if they do trade Njoku. And I wouldn't be shocked to see that. I could see Njoku to the Chargers or something of that nature, right? In which case Fannin becomes a top 9 tight end. But for right now, I'd rather see what Malik Washington does. I don't think anybody's going to be sprinting to beat you to Fannin. But when the trade deadline gets closer, bing bong, I'd restash Fannin. But for this week especially, let me see what Malik Washington does. Fatty Mateo, what's going on? 6-point pass touchdowns. Jayden versus May. I'm going Jayden Daniels, baby. I'm higher on him than the ECR by 4 or 5 today. I just don't get it. Anytime he's out there, he's a top 3 quarterback for me. And I'm playing him. Thank you, TC, for reposting the stream. Greatly appreciate the share. And anybody else out there willing to repost it, it really does help us get out to more people and continue to grow the channel. So thank you so much, TC. Miami, Rico or Genty, Stroud or Geno? Definitely Genty, and I'm going to go Stroud over Geno. I think you might have super chatted that one at one point too. It looks familiar, but I'm going Genty over Rico. Carter or DeMarcado? I prefer DeMarcado, as I've said, Matt, on the show a few times. I do. Kamara versus Mason. I am going to go with Kamara on that one, Fatty Mateo. That Browns matchup, very, very tricky. Morning, Ethan. Good to see you. And thanks again for your very generous super chats. Rank these 3 in terms of ceiling. Woody, Marks, RJ, Harvey, and Trevion. Who's your favorite season long? I'd go Woody, then Trevion, then Harvey. Woody being my favorite because he's already kind of arrived. I think the other 2 will arrive. And when Trevion arrives, he probably has the highest ceiling, sure. Woody's already here, and he looks great. So I'm going to go with Woody there, Ethan. I know, Robert. Yeah, Tonjes did do well. Glad anybody out there. I said he could be a really good desperation stream tight end for you. I'm glad it sounds like you might have played him and listened to that advice. Good stuff. Andres, what's going on? Half PPR, BTJ, Walker, Woody, Marks. I'm going to bench BTJ there and go with Woody and Walker myself. Let's let BTJ earn his way back in the lineup when you got options like that. Ryan Rodell, pick 2, half PPR, Olave, Rachaad White, or Dowdle. Do that. I just saw it. So 9:47, quite a full mailbag. So right around the 15-minute mark is when I like to fire up the the rapid fire. So I'm going to set a 15-minute timer, and we are going to start ripping in just a second. I'll do one last round of, if you can hit that thumbs up, you can hit the heart button. Please consider doing so. And of course, rotostreetjournal.com is where all my rankings and all the content. We have such great writers, phenomenal stuff out there on the website for everything you need. Sit starts, sleepers, whatever you need, rotostreetjournal.com will have it. So check us out. And I, of course, am at RotoStreetWolf as well. All righty. Water down, and here we go. Rapid fire time. Let's go, Wolfpack. Week 5, baby. All righty. Full PPR. Jacoby, Godwin, Diggs. I would go with Jacoby. Yep, and he still hasn't had that ceiling game with no Bowers. Probably going to happen. Fatty Mateo, Waller versus Ertz. Going Ertz. Kristen Mann, wondering whether Bourne will still produce. I'm glad he saved you. Glad you played him. It might be the only good week you get out of him once you got Pearsall and Jennings and Kittle back. John Long, concerned about Vikings line? Yeah, I am concerned. I would probably have played, I kind of actually like the Wandale pivot there. Mason or Dowdle? I'm going Dowdle for sure, Krana. Tommy Taluga, pick 3, Sutton, Ladd, Igbuka, Myers. You're definitely going Igbuka. You're definitely going Myers, and you're definitely going Sutton. Hit the bench, Ladd, where you belong. Tommy Taluga, pick 3, Sutton, Olave, Jamo, Addison. I would be going with Sutton. I'd be going with Addison and Olave. I'd be benching Jamo. We did get a super chat from my man, Mass Football Guy. What's up, Big Dad Bod? Let's go. Trey Tucker or Cooper Kupp at wide receiver 2. I want to go for ceiling here, Mass Football Guy. And with no Brock Bowers, with a 40-point day already on his resume, that's Trey Tucker for me. I don't like Cooper Kupp at all. It sounds like Torrey Horton's going to continue to nibble away at his cheese. The team wants to get him more and more involved. So, Dad Bod, Mass Football Guy, we're going Trey Tucker today. I know it's boom or bust, but Cooper Kupp's kind of just bust or bust. So, I'm going to go with Trey Tucker. I like the matchup I do against the Bucs, but I still like Trey Tucker's upside quite a bit more, especially, again, with no Bowers today. Thank you again so much. Consistently super chatting your boy and showing your support. I really, really appreciate it. We got Higgins or Wandale for RG45. We're going Wandale. Giuseppe Caruso, Nick Chubb, Shaheed, Hunter, Kendre Miller, Kirk or Davis. Flex pick 1. Hunter's probably Travis Hunter, not Hunter Henry. Shaheed. I don't know. Don't love it. Good morning from Alex. Judy, Higgins, Trey Tucker in PPR. I would be going with Trey Tucker of these options. Waller or Johnson if he plays. I'm going Waller. Similar worries to you. His health and Hill being back. Yep. And Foster Moreau too. Good morning, Big Dog. Need your help. S3 STKZ. Let's do it. Dowdle, Henderson, White, Marks. You're going Marks. You're going Dowdle. I'd be benching the other 2 there. 3. A lot of good guys in the same tier. I'm going Dowdle. I'm going Marks there. Simp. Full PPR. Flex 1. BTJ, Dowdle, Mason, Godwin, DeMarcado. I'm going Dowdle with that one, Simp. I'm benching BTJ very slightly over Dowdle. Finally going to get a Jayden Blue sighting. I know, Giuseppe. Christ has risen. Jayden Blue is here. He's probably had like 2 carries, 5 yards, and a fumble, and we can cut him and never speak his name again. But maybe he rips that 50-yard touchdown. Let's go, Giuseppe. Let's go. Omar F. Play Hawkinson in the London game or wait and see if Jawan plays. I would have played Hawkinson. Not sure what you did. Good, sir. Anytime, Jay. Thank you again for that super chat, my man. Cronashaw, Hall or Judkins. I'm going Hall, but come on, get them both in there somehow, right? Love them both. Both top 12 running backs. Hall just a little bit higher for me. Krana. TJ Johnson. Happy Sunday to you, sir. Full PPR. Need 2 receivers and a flex. MHJ, Ladd, BTJ, Jordan Mason. I would have said BTJ and MHJ. Not sure what you ended up doing, DJ. But I am worried about Mason, the line, and the bad matchup. So BTJ and MHJ for me. Mordenheim, 1. Genty or Woody Marks? I'd got to go Genty. 30-point day. Back in that stance. Going to go Genty. But I do love Woody Marks. That's too bad you're 0-4. BTJ's ass. If you can play Woody Marks over BTJ, I would. Stephen McMahon, what's up? Tough one for you. Start one of the flex. Chase Brown, AJ Brown, Jordan Mason. That is a tough one, brother. I think I'm going to go with Chase Brown and hope he finds that end zone. Hey, who's a better runner today, Fields or D. Jones? Definitely Fields. 10 out of 10 times. He has the NFL record for rushing yards in a single game by a quarterback on his resume, and he's facing the Cowboys, who have given up more rush yards and TDs to quarterbacks than any other team this year. You got to go with Fields, no doubt. Mr. Lucky Schaefer, Eric Carter or DeMarcado? I'm going DeMarcado, my man. Very tough call. Flip. PP ran with a 3-1 record and expected victory day. A bit thin at, go get Rashee Rice. Absolutely. If he's on waivers, pay every dollar you can. If not, trade for him. I think he's a top 5 rest of season receiver once he's inserted back in. Perfect move to make. Absolutely. Mr. Lucky Schaefer, Fields or Daniels? I'm going Daniels. If you're worried, though, Fields is a fine pivot for sure. He's number 3. Daniels number 2. If you're worried, do it. But I'm worried about Fields getting benched potentially. Todd Culver, Juwan Johnson, Mason Taylor, or Schultz at tight end? I'd go Mason Taylor. Addison or Godwin for Marcus Banks? I'm going to go with Addison. Mr. Lucky Schaefer, sit Juwan Johnson for Tremble? No, I'd go Juwan Johnson. Need a tight end start. Please and thanks, Juwan, Hawkinson, or Taysom. I'd go Hawkinson there. Craig, always me. Jay Bleasy, Dobbins against Philly or Rashid Shaheed? Definitely Dobbins there for me. Ron Smith, Nix or Dart? I'm going Nix. Chase Brown or Mason? I'd go Chase Brown. Mr. Lucky, pick one. Deebo, Addison, Mason, or Jamo Williams? I'm definitely going Deebo. I'm sticking with what you have. Tristan, NHL, start 2. Marv, AJB, Mason. I'm benching Mason there. Matthew Noto, start 2, sit 1. Full PPR. QJ Worthy, Tet McMillan. I'd be sitting Tet there. Matthew Noto, sit 1 or start 1. Full PPR. Malik or Io Manor? I'm going Malik, baby. Tawana Williams. Oh, we already got that one for you with the super chat. Good morning, Steve Weber. Jeff Chula. Need a flex. Roll with Harvey and Dobbins or sit Harvey to scoop Keon Coleman or Troy Franklin? I would go I'd go Keon Coleman. I'd sit Harvey for Coleman, yeah. I'd spread it out a little bit. I'd go DeMarcado over Harvey this week, Bulldog. PPR, Slayton or Jamo? I'd go with Jamo. Manny T, Fields or Daniels? I'm going Daniels. We've gotten that one a few times, though. Part of me wants to like flip the Fields. It feels a little safer, but I cannot be benching Daniels myself. Eric Schaefer, torn for 2 flex spots. PPR, Diggs, Brown, Addison, DeMarcado. I'm going Diggs, and I think I'm going to go Addison for the other one. Tristan, and if you didn't go Addison, Chase Brown over DeMarcado, I think. What does this world come to, huh? Tristan, repeat, please don't do that. Mark Schaefer, Egbuka or Tet? I'm definitely going Egbuka for sure. Love Egbuka. Mando N, I have to bench one. QJ Pickens. Oh, man, this is going to be a tough one to bench. Sorry, I was just checking in my rankings where I had Chase Brown, and I have him just above DeMarcado. Make sure I agree with that. QJ Pickens, Worthy, or Jefferson? Can't believe I might consider benching Jefferson. I'd bench Worthy of these options, Mando, and I think QJ Pickens and Jefferson have to be in your lineups. But if you bench Jefferson, I understand it. You can't bench Pickens, though, against the Jets. They're not good at all this year. It's not like the old Jets. Dan Moore, I know you super chatted that one already, so we nailed that for you. Rick Moore, pick 2. Mason, Woody, or Rico? I am benching Mason. I'm playing Woody and Rico there. Alex says, bruh, what's up, dude? Dold plays TCG. Pick 2, full PPR, Dowdle, Coleman, Dobbins. I'd go Dowdle and Dobbins to Dold, no doubt. Do I drop Johnson? You sure could. I will and have in many leagues. Also, Harvey or Slayton? I'm going Slayton there for sure. You have Josh Allen QB? Very nice. Do I drop Johnson concerned about his knee? Yeah, I would drop him, and I would pick out I don't know. I can't read the rest of that question. Sport Dog 1000, 18 PPR super. I need 2 flex using Woody Marks for 1, and for the second, Keenan, Godwin, Shaheed, Stevenson. I'd go Keenan Allen for the next one, Sport Dog, and I agree Woody Marks over the others as well. Chula, Chase Brown or Dobbins? I'm going Dobbins, baby. People really spend money on questions like that, and bro somehow took 5 minutes to answer it. Nice, Alex. Seems like a nice guy, dude. Ernie, Taurus. Yeah. Thank you for your support, everybody that did spend money. It's very kind of you. I take 2 hours of my day. It's very nice of you to support me. Alex can kiss my white ass. Ernie Taurus, wishing my very pale ass. And Harry, just for you, Alex. Ernie Taurus, wishing. Pollard, Shakir, DeMarcado. Need 2, PPR. I would go with Pollard, Shakir. That's what I'm doing in PPR. Good morning. Full PPR. Ugly tight end choices. Hawk, Juwan, or Mason Taylor. I would go with Mason Taylor. Yeah, clearly Dold. I don't answer if you don't pay. Yep, very nice. Hennessy Black. Thoughts on starting Brashard or over the mid Pollard? I'd still stay with mid Pollard until we see Brashard really get a role, but I wouldn't be shocked to see that. I agree completely with what he's saying. Eric Buckman. Need a running back, wide receiver, and flex buck. Henderson, Dowdle, Godwin, Jamo, Slayton. I would go with Dowdle. I would go with Godwin. And I would go with Slayton in the flex. Hey, thank you so much, John. At least somebody recognizes time is valuable. Indeed. Whether mine is valuable or not, I have a daughter. I love spending time with her. So, yes, for me, it's very valuable. I do. They're talking about Brashard, so great. Keep talking to each other. AJ, Olave, Jettis, Quentin, choose 3. I would go Walker over JK for what it's worth as well, Bully. I'm going to go Quentin, Jettas, and AJ over Olave myself. DJ Johnson, half PPR, Ladd, MHJ, Hunter, Henderson, Addison. I would go with MHJ, I think. Mason, Rico, or White. I would go with Rico there, Fortnite Pro. Is this a big brain move? Just upgrade Spears to my roster, release Fannin, added Coker the IR? Yeah, solid option there. Not bad, Lewis. Lee Kresner, BTJ or Dowdle? I'm going Dowdle. Good morning, Marcus Banks. Start 1, BTJ, Addison, Godwin. I would go with BTJ in that one. Can anyone help me? I hopefully helped you. I would be going Rico. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Fields or Daniels? We've gotten that one a million times. I'm going to go with Fields myself. What up, Wolf? Need one flex. Godwin, Marks, White, Chase Brown, T-Mac. I'm going with Marks there, Mr. Firster. Great to see you, brother. What's going on, Apex? Got some bad injuries, like I told you last time. Luckily, I picked up Dowdle. There you go. And Bucky a couple days before everyone. Need help this time between Wandale and T. I go Wandale there. But nice job getting Rico. Mason, Rico, or White. I'm going to put him in timeout. My man, Kevin, I look for these guys repeating those comments, sir. Apex, ran out of characters. Throw DeMarcado. I'd go DeMarcado, actually, over Wandale. I would, Apex. N712 Hockey. Rare free roster spot, 12-team league. Who should I stash? Davis, Tucker, Smith, Blue, Haskins. I would go Blue, and then if you're able, I looked at the receivers, none of them. I'd go Blue, and especially if you're able to then churn, like let's say Blue sucks, then I would go Sean Tucker. He sucks. I'd go Brashard Smith. That you can do on Yahoo. I don't know if you can do it if you're on ESPN. You probably can't. But if I can only pick one, it would be Blue. Mountain Man, pick 2. Dowdle, White, Demo. I'm benching White there. All righty. Here we go. Looks like some people got tossed in timeout. Awesome. John Martin. Full PPR, pick 2, please. BTJ, Waddle, Olave, Pittman. I'm going to go with Pittman and Waddle for that one. Cushy's 1 and 3, needs the win. Devonta or Troy, I'm going to go Devonta there. He's a little behind-the-scenes squeaky. I hope he gets some grease. Osarius, do I start Elick, Io Manor, Michael Carter? I would go with Michael Carter, Dalton Schultz, or Mason Taylor. I'm going Mason Taylor there. Addison or Wandale, Brad? I'm going Addison. Justin Cordero, start 2 PPR. JCM, Chubb, Sean Tucker, and Henderson. I would go with JCM and Henderson for that one, Justin. Billy Shields, Njoku or Waller. I'm going to go with Waller. Alex is still being lovely. Good to see you, Alex. You seem like a really lovely person. Full PPR, pick 2, Waddle, Dowdle, Franklin, Mason. I would go with Tunes, Waddle, and Dowdle for those 2. MVM, should I trade Rachaad White for Marvin Harrison Jr.? I would go with, I would do that trade, absolutely. Milo, start 2. K9, BTJ, Mason, Pollard. I would go with K9, and I would go Pollard over BTJ. Very that. Drop Pacheco for Brashad. Yeah, probably. Brashad's just trash. Right now, I'm watching online. This is where we need to ban these people, Campanelli, the spam people. Pick 2, Higgins, Flowers, Godwin, Tucker, Shaheed. I would go with Flowers and Godwin for that one, EA. Jack Jones, it wasn't that bad. Instead of Pacheco at flex, there's still Torrey Horton, Diami. Yeah, I'd just go maybe Mims, but I think I go Pacheco there. Fatty Mateo, 6-point passing touchdown. Have Nixon, swap how? I have no idea what you're asking. Kyle Toons, Henderson, Scat, Pittman, McConkey, sit one. I'm sitting Henderson there, but McConkey's probably getting set too. 6-point passing touchdowns. Run Nix or swap for Danny Dimes, Dart, Tua, or Geno. I would be doing Danny Dimes there. He's absolute stud right now, Fatty Mateo. Full PPR, sit 1, Palmer, T. I'd sit Palmer because there's 2 Palmers. I don't know which one you're talking about. Rico or Judkins? I would go with Judkins for sure, Liam. Asking his question a million times. Campanelli, where are we, sir? Put this user in timeout. I couldn't see a more obvious one than that. It's fine to ask. Yeah, whatever. Kyle Toons, full PPR, 1 running back, 1 flex. Henderson, Dowdle, AJ Brown, T. Higgins. I would go Dowdle and I would go AJ Brown. Diggs or Godwin, I'm going Diggs. May or Dak, I'm going Dak. I remember your question, King Retros. I answered it right at the jump. DeMarcado, Hunt, or Pollard? I would go with I go Pollard. The joke already playing. Yeah. Have a nice Sunday, brother. Good luck in fantasy. You too, sir. Pollard, DeMarcado, Shakir, King, need 2. I would go with I'd be benching DeMarcado there. Bo Nix or Sam Darnold? Bo Nix. TD Fannin. Hey, there you go, Daniel Caps. Love your advice. Need 2. Sutton, Ty Warren, or White? I would be going with Sutton, and I'd be going with, I think, Warren, actually. Marks or White in the flex? I would go Woody Marks. And then we got, thanks, man, last question here for Jason Ortiz. What tight end? Ertz, Njoku, Mason, Taylor. I would go with Ertz for sure of those ones. All righty, guys. Thank you so much for your support. 2,435 of you on your way out. One last call for a thumbs up button, a likes, a shares, retweets. All that stuff is so helpful. The rankings will be live right after the show at rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Check out the site. Check out at RotoStreetWolf, my Twitter, and please do consider subscribing to the channel. We got 2,400 of you here, more than that. If even just 10 of you subscribe, we hit 4,700 a day, which would be so cool. Would love to do it. Thank you again so much for being here, guys. In a world full of fantasy sheep, be the wolf, rotostreetjournal.com. Later.